2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the place you're not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Happy Halloween and welcome into a Tuesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming on YouTube. 855-212-4CBS is the number to jump on in. 855-212-4227. You can always interact with me on the good old cesspool of Twitter or on Instagram, where I'm always straight flexing at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. I currently have my binoculars up right now. I am doing some scouting as I am dressed today as Connor Stallions. Thank you for your service, Connor, and we appreciate all the great work that you did for the Michigan football team. So we are going a little Connor Stallions today on CBS Sports Radio. And I'm not the only one that is dressed up. And we do have some big guests today, as we are going to be joined by the head coach of the Oregon Ducks, Dan Lanning, the actual Dan Lanning, coming up 20 minutes from now. And we'll be joined by Dalvin Cook, who could be traded by the NFL trade deadline at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific today. But on the other side of the glass, I don't know how he did this. This is excellent booking, but we have Mike McDaniel, the head football coach of the Miami Dolphins. And, Coach, you're off to a wonderful start this season. You know, it would be nice if you guys could take down the Buffalo Bills or show up against the Philadelphia Eagles, but Everyone thought you were a joke of a hire when you were made the head man, the head honcho of the Dolphins 2 years ago. And now 2 years later, you have a team that is a legitimate Super Bowl contender in the AFC.
Thank you, Zach. Happy to be here and happy to be one of the best teams in the league. And Tua Tagovailoa, just the best quarterback in the league. We're happy to be here.
You've really embraced him, unlike Brian Flores. You got to talk a little bit slower, though.
Slower.
And then, if Samter, you got to be careful. We'll get to your costume in just a second, Mickey Mouse. But if you see Stu start to run and jolt right out of the studio, maybe trip him and make sure he doesn't leave the confines of the CBS Sports Radio studios, because we do have a show to get to, and we'll be rocking and rolling all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And Michael Samter is dressed up as Mickey Mouse, and a source did tell me from all the fine scouting that I've done, because I'm scouting not only in the college football world, but all around the world, that your beautiful daughter is Minnie Mouse today. So that's a nice job.
Ha 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 ha! Yes. She's Minnie Mouse today.
Wow, I wasn't expecting you to sound like that. That's pretty creepy there, Mickey Mouse.
What do you mean? This is just my voice.
He sounds like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
You're funny, Zach.
Well, if you were an old producer that used to work here, Sean Marash, that would be pretty simple to just dress up as the Pillsbury Doughboy. But there you go. Big Mike CBS is dressed up as Mickey Mouse. Well, happy Halloween. We'll give you our top 5 candies coming up later today, and maybe some of our favorite costumes of all time. But I got to start on a scary note, and it's scary if you are the usual board op of this show and not the head football coach of the Miami Dolphins in Stuart Kovacs, because last night on Monday Night Football, to conclude Week 8 in the NFL, you saw an embarrassing, lethargic, and putrid effort from the Las Vegas Raiders. And let me be abundantly clear right out of the gate. The Raiders signing Jimmy G was a mistake. They need to trade Davante Adams. It won't happen in the next hour. It's going to happen this upcoming offseason. And Josh McDaniels needs to be fired. That is the easiest way to say it. That is the simplest way to say it. And all those statements are true. Now, my take on this is not impacted by the fact that I had Davante Adams at plus 150 on an anytime touchdown last night. But that dude is too good of a wide receiver to be open twice. One would have been like a 99-yard touchdown as they were stuck in their own end zone, and the other would have been 45 to 50 yards. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat last night because he had Adams wide open. And both times, he just overthrew Davante Adams, and it wasn't even close. And then also, if you want to go back to earlier in the game, I almost forgot about this. The underthrow, at least the last two were an overthrow, and he's used to that, like Emmanuel Sanders, how he overthrew him in the Super Bowl a few years ago. But even in double coverage, Davante Adams, because he's so great, got the separation, and he underthrew him, and it led to an interception. I have never been a fan of Jimmy Garoppolo. I remember a few years ago when Tom Brady left the Patriots, some people were trying to advocate for Jimmy Garoppolo to return to one Patriot place. And my response was, why? Why would you want to bring in someone who is not a franchise quarterback? Because Jimmy Garoppolo is a quarterback. He is an average, slightly above average quarterback who has won a lot of games in this league. But the biggest reason why he won games was because of the system he was in with the San Francisco 49ers and the loaded roster. But it seems like each and every year, this dude gets hurt. So when you go to Jimmy Garoppolo, and then we'll work backwards to McDaniels and Adams, but Jimmy G was such an underwhelming signing for the Las Vegas Raiders. And it's something that through 6 games, it's not working. And when there were rumors this offseason, like Stu was getting excited, oh, maybe Tom Brady's going to go there. And I thought that had some legitimate legs because I didn't think Brady was done with playing football. But once Brady retires, all the speculation was Aaron Rodgers. And if you recall, the day Aaron Rodgers, and I know he didn't get traded that day, but the day that Aaron Rodgers declared that he intended on playing football this year and he wanted to get traded to the Jets, Pat McAfee asked him about a former teammate of his who plays on the Raiders in Davante Adams. And I'm paraphrasing here, but Rodgers basically said there was interest there. And for whatever the reasons were, the Raiders didn't actively and seriously pursue that. And I don't get why. Maybe it's because Josh McDaniels is an egomaniac, but do you want to keep your job? Do you want to win games? Because to say to a fan base, and I know it's not him, but there was speculation, legitimate speculation, that Rodgers was going to be there or Brady was going to be there. And to wind up with Jimmy freaking G, it is the ultimate wah, wah, wah. And you know he's either not going to be good enough or he's going to get hurt. And last night, I actually had some sympathy for Jimmy G. Now, the Raiders' offensive line stinks. That is abundantly clear as well. But with how many injuries he's suffered, it's clear mentally the physical beating that he's taken is now getting to his head. Because even when the Raiders were able to muster up a few seconds and hold the defensive lineman, Jimmy G had no awareness. Jimmy G was afraid last night. And how many times did he have an opportunity to get the ball out, even if he had to make a risky throw, and he saw a defensive lineman and he said, yeah, I'm just going to roll right into you and take the sack. I don't even know what to say to Raiders fans. I really don't. I try to be at times optimistic. I want to try to enlighten and help a passionate, crazy fan base, but there's no hope. This team, it's crazy that they already got to 3 wins because they're 3-5 and they suck. And you have 3 of the top 20 players in the league? Josh Jacobs is a stud. They're wasting him. Davante Adams is a stud. They're wasting him. And Max Crosby, he was a man possessed last night, and it meant nothing because he was great in the game. But when you have Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo running the show, there's only one destination, and that's failure. And that's what the Raiders are right now. The Raiders are a bunch of losers. The Raiders are a bunch of failures. And Mark Davis, you can't be either this stupid or this cheap moving forward. I know that you had to pay John Gruden and you had to give him a certain amount of money. And now, through 2 years, you don't want to be paying another coach to not coach the team. But you are the biggest buffoon in the NFL. And there's a lot of buffoons in the NFL. If you bring back Josh McDaniels after this season, I don't see anything this guy does well. Like, if I give any coach Max Crosby, Josh Jacobs, and Davante Adams, you should be able to be competent. Instead, you're incompetent. Now, let me get to Davante Adams real quickly. No one should be surprised with his frustration last night. Now, don't get me wrong. Davante Adams also, the rare times he gets thrown the football, he has to catch it. Because last week, when Brian Hoyer was playing, right down that left back of the end zone, he had a wide open touchdown, and he dropped it. Last night, on 3rd down, he was wide open. They were deep in their own territory, and they dropped it. But when you are used to a standard of Aaron Rodgers and being someone that's playing along with Aaron Rodgers, I understand he wanted out of Green Bay. He wanted to go play with Derek Carr. But you have to have some foresight there. I know he wanted to get closer to home and the family and all that stuff. But you got to be a little clairvoyant and know, yeah, Derek Carr, I know he's your buddy from Fresno State, but he's not that good either. And he was on the last go-around with the Raiders. So you were annoyed that the Packers weren't giving you enough attention financially. Then at the end of it, it was too late. You left actually more money on the table to leave. And you wind up with the Raiders. Your best bud in Derek Carr, after 1 year, gets cut, released. He's now with the Saints. And we all knew this was going to be an unmitigated disaster before the start of the season because it was in the offseason where he was basically bitching and complaining about the coach and the GM. And then a day later, he's like, oh, let me put all the toothpaste back in the tube, and there's nothing wrong, nothing to see here. I was misquoted. That was a bunch of bull bleep. There's no other way to say it. So now, halfway through the season, no one should be surprised that Davante Adams is perturbed. And yeah, you got to catch the football, but he's used to a different standard. And it's the most obvious thing. I did a Sportsman on it this summer. Yeah, Davante Adams is going to play this year for the Raiders. But at the end of the year, the Raiders aren't going to be any good. And at the end of the year, he's going to ask for a trade. And it's very easy to probably say he'll kind of go NBA kind of approach. And what I mean by that is he'll go on out there and he'll say, I want to go to the Jets. Rodgers will put the public pressure on him. And then what? If you're the Jets, give a first-round pick to go get Davante Adams. So this is inevitable that at the end of the year, it's not going to happen in the next 40 minutes. Doesn't make sense for the Raiders to do that. But at the end of the year, Davante Adams will get traded. Let me play two audio cuts here. This is Davante Adams after the game where they lost 26-14. And it's crazy the final score was 26-14 because it looked a lot worse than that. And he had some turnovers. He had the interception that went for a touchdown by Jared Goff. But it's amazing that this game was only 26-14 because it felt like it was like 35-3. But here's Davante Adams. This is how you know it's bad. He was so dejected after the loss that he was at a loss for words.
Honestly, I don't know what to say at this moment. I truly don't. I wish I had the words to say something that's not going to get blown up in the media and taken out of context. So I'm going to just, I just don't know.
No, we all know what you want to say. You could blame the media. We all know what you want to say. You hate Josh McDaniels. You think Jimmy G is a bum quarterback, and you won out. But you're not going to say that because then you're going to get the tag of being a bad teammate. And here is Josh Jacobs, who didn't get rewarded this offseason. They've barely been using him. They only gave him 15 carries last night. He gets 4 yards a carry, so give him credit. He led the Raiders. Hear this. He led the Raiders in receiving. He only had 2 catches for 27 yards. And at the first half, I knew it was bad for the Raiders. But they go to halftime, and I hear Aikman and Buck go, well, no Raiders receiver had a reception in the first half. And I was laughing. But here's Josh Jacobs, who didn't get rewarded this offseason with a brand new contract. Clearly doesn't like Josh McDaniels and David Ziegler either, and knows that the Raiders are wasting him. And this was the league's leading rusher last year. And here's Jacobs showing his frustration with the offense.
You say it's got to be better. Do you have any ideas or anything you think that could spark the offense going forward?
I don't know, that ain't my job.
It's a bright spot for you, at least in the passing game. I think you are leading all running backs in receiving yards.
Yeah, but that don't matter, bro. I ain't trying to hear this shit.
So you have Davante Adams annoyed. You have Josh Jacobs annoyed. And both of them, they would want to get out of the Raiders and their organization and the dysfunctional organization right now if they could. But that's not going to happen until the end of this season. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. One of the best teams in college football is Oregon. Quack, quack. We'll talk to the head football coach of the Oregon Ducks, Dan Lanning, when we return after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, we continue. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. The Oregon Ducks have been one of the better stories in college football this season. They are 7-1, coming off a big-time win at Utah over the weekend, 35-6. This weekend they have Cal, and now joining us is the head football coach at Oregon in Dan Lanning. Coach, always appreciate the time. Thanks for it. How are you?
I'm doing good, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Well, little birdie told me that you guys had a little Halloween fun yesterday in the facility, but you dressed up as the big bad werewolf, and you scared some children yesterday on your coaching staff.
Yeah, I got a rough time last year because I wasn't dressed up. I wasn't wearing anything. So I had my wife. I said, "Hey, go grab me a mask or something from a Halloween store," and she went pretty aggressive. I had the big bad wolf, and it was a hit, but not really when a 3-year-old walks around the corner into my office. It's a little too scary, so I got to reassess that for next year. Always learn.
What is your favorite candy item, by the way?
I'm probably a gummy guy. They had some of these, what are they, like lifesaver, like gummy ring deals or whatever. Those are pretty legit. I'd say that.
My image of you is just crushing candy in the office and then a lot of energy drinks. Is that fair?
I'm coffee, and I've been pretty good this year about not doing too much candy, but there's a bunch of candy in my office right now because of this Halloween deal yesterday, so I got to figure out a way to get rid of it. But more coffee than energy drinks. Every once in a while I'll hit a Red Bull, sugar-free Red Bull, but for the most part, it's coffee.
And I would imagine your real coffee is just getting on that football field, because when you get in that locker room and you give those epic pregame speeches or you're on the sideline, you just get in a zone, coach. And I mean this in like the most polite way possible, and I want this for my football coach. You just have that look in your eyes that like you're all in on football when you get on your sanctuary.
I mean, how great is this sport? Like, how fun is this sport? And I loved playing it. I was never talented enough to play at Oregon. but this is like the closest thing to that fix. There's no feeling in the world better than getting to coach football.
Talking to Dan Lanning right now, the head coach of the Oregon Ducks. That team last week, what you did in a tough environment was so impressive. I thought you guys were going to win the game. I know you can't touch on the gambling side of it, but I laid the 6.5 points with you, but I didn't even think it would be that much of a blowout. What does that win say about your team, Coach?
Well, just that we can play a complete game, and there's obviously a lot of season left, so you can't get too caught up in the moment because the next game is now the most important game. And our guys went out and performed kind of in all three phases, but I'm probably more excited that our guys walked away saying, oh, man, what if we would have hit this, or what if we would have executed this better? So a lot of room for growth for us moving forward.
Now, this is only your second year at Oregon. It's your first time being a head coach. When you hear that from your players, where they walk away from what looked like a perfect game, but they think they could do more, that's got to be a signal to you. What you and your staff are doing is really working, that they're understanding your guys' mentality.
Well, I think it's a signal more than anything that our guys live in reality, right? And people, media, and everything else that exists out there, they're going to create highs and lows for your team that really have nothing to do with your team. And the reality is we do need to get better. We do have a lot of things that we can improve, and I'm glad our guys see that.
Were you surprised with the way that the game played out? Because we all know how much respect people have for Kyle Whittingham and what he's been able to do at Utah the last 2 years, back-to-back Pac-12 champs. To see it be that lopsided, that catch you by surprise?
I thought our team could perform well and match up well. And, for the brand of play that they have, it's hard if they get down for them to, convert to a different brand of play on offense. So I felt like that was something if we, the same things that he preaches, like if you take care of the ball, and you win the line of scrimmage, you're going to have an opportunity to control the game. And we were able to do that on Saturday, and that's probably what led to success.
The last 2 weeks, coming off that crushing defeat up against Washington, which was my favorite college football game of the season. It was awesome to see both teams play the way that they did. And unfortunately for you guys, you just lose right at the end and don't get to go to overtime. But I was wondering how your team is going to respond the following 2 weeks, coming off a tough loss like that in a big national stage. These last 2 weeks, not only on the field, because we've talked about on the field, but in practice, what kind of hunger did you sense from your guys?
Yeah, our guys are hungry, and that's just because they're competitors. One of the best things you can do for your team is make sure you have guys with competitive spirit on your team, and we got a bunch of competitors on our team. I just actually got off the practice field with our guys today at a Tuesday practice, and it's physical a practice that I've been a part of in a long time with guys competing, and I think that's the secret to having great success is guys that embrace the strain and what it takes to be successful.
Let me get to your quarterback. I don't even know what else there is to say. It's all praise, praise, and praise. You get to see him day in and day out. You've known him for a while. What do you enjoy the most about coaching Bo Nix?
Well, his competitive spirit is certainly where it starts. His ability to execute, and I say it all the time, but get us in the right looks in the right place. He's really good at that. But he holds himself to a high standard and the people around him to a high standard, which makes us better.
Why has it worked at Oregon? Because it was a little up and down at Auburn, and the last 2 years he's been one of the better quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in the country.
I can't speak to what didn't work before, but I can speak to what Bo's done here, and I think everybody can see what the success that Bo's had here. He's obviously a great quarterback. I went against him when when I was at Georgia, and I was always fearful playing Bo because he has big playability at all times. His legs are a weapon as well as his arm. And I think what he's done here is just been able to show everybody else what he's capable of and what he can do.
Do you feel like you have the best QB in the country?
Yeah, I certainly do. And I don't get to coach every other QB, but I don't know if everybody realizes the value of everything else this guy does for us. And I spend as much time talking to Bo throughout the week as I do anybody on our coaching staff and, any of our players. His preparation is unmatched. His intelligence, his work ethic, I just never been around anybody quite like it. And then for him to go out and perform the way he does on Saturdays is really impressive.
In my business, we spend so much time talking about the coach, talking about the quarterback. Through this season so far, where you guys are 7-1 in the top 10, looking like a college football playoff team, potential Pac-12 champions, what else has really impressed you outside of the quarterback with this team?
Well, all that stuff's so far away, and it's really about focusing on where we're at right now. What I'll say is I think there's a lot of outside noise and a lot of questions about a lot of places and pieces on our team, and I think that our players have responded well in saying they can eliminate the outside noise by just going out there and doing their job. There was a lot of questions around our offensive line going into the season. We're running the ball really well, and we're protecting the quarterback. A lot of, questions about some of the defensive pieces we had, and, what that was going to look like moving forward. And those guys are executing at a high level. But, again, it has nothing to do with the next week. And it's about what you do now and what's next. So we got to continue to improve and continue to grow. But I'm really happy with where our team's at so far.
Well, I saw a quote that you gave, and it's music to my ears because I'm very strict in calling a team great. And you said since the summer, we've talked about the process of good to great. We're a good team right now. What you do in November will determine if we're a great team. You've been around great teams. You've been around Alabama. You've been around Georgia. Are you seeing signs from your team so far that suggest, all right, this team's ready to take that next step and be a great team in the final 2-3 months of the season?
Well, time will tell. Time will tell. Like you said, I've been around great teams, but I'll say at this moment, with every one of those teams that I was a part of, I don't think you knew yet. You still don't know, and it's still about going out there and executing within the game. It's still, and each one of those teams faced adversity too. At the end of the season, great teams that I've been a part of, they still experienced some adversity that they had to overcome. So we don't know that yet. We're good, and but I don't know if we're great. Our performance in November will tell us that.
How are you a different coach from last year to this year? Just wondering.
Maybe a little more patient and, just my thought process. And I'll say this, last year, you expect the unexpected, but I don't know if I always knew how to react in the unexpected. And this year I feel like with the unexpected, I know exactly how I want to react because I've kind of played that out in my mind before it happens. Before
we let Dan Lanning run, the coach of the Oregon Ducks, I want to ask you this. We've seen coordinators get tabbed as like that next guy in college football. Some succeed, some fail. It's the nature of the business. Through the first 2 years, you've had a lot of success. Why, when you got the opportunity to be a head coach, were you ready for the moment?
Well, because I've had the opportunity to be around phenomenal coaches before I got there. I always talk about in coaching, it's really not about years of experience. It's about quality of experience. And if you look at the people that I got to work with and work for and the players that I got to coach, I had really quality experience to get to be a fly on the wall for guys like Kirby Smart and Nick Saban and Mike Norvell and Todd Graham and Casey Keeler. The coaches, the plethora of coaches that I got to work for, I learned a lot from each one of them. Things that I wanted to do, things that I wanted to do different, but I always learned. And as long as I continue to have that growth mindset for me, I think I can continue to improve and get better myself.
I know the first college football playoff rankings come out tonight. Do you care where you guys land, or is it too early?
Just win. If we win, we take care of it. The rest takes care of itself. It doesn't really matter what that says. Just win.
Last thing I'll ask you, and there's some irony in this because I'm dressed up as Connor Stallions right now. That's my Halloween costume. How do you react to everything that's going on at Michigan and the sign-stealing scandal in the sport of college football right now?
Well, I think that'll all take care of itself. Obviously, that the operation there is, that was different, and the more that comes out, I think the more people realize that's not the way it's supposed to work. It's not the way college football is supposed to work. But that'll all take care of itself. That's not on my plate, which I'm glad it's not.
And then one more bonus thing that I'll ask you. How about Cal this upcoming weekend? What do you see when you scout them?
Well, it's a night and day team from last year. Their efficiency on offense is really impressive. They've been able to put up points. I think they're getting more and more comfortable, which is hard, in year one with the coordinator. The coordinator change, Coach Pavel, has done a really good job. And obviously Coach Wilcox has done a good job for a long time. But this team can create explosives. They have one of the best running backs in our league. He's an NFL back. And they do a good job distributing the ball and making sure that they're always in games with the way that they play and the points that they're able to score. So it's going to be a really unique challenge for us. We have to go out there and play really sound football. And the things that win every week in college football will still win. We got to take care of the ball. We got to create explosive plays and prevent explosives.
Well, Coach, your team's been a joy to watch so far. Good luck and good health the rest of the way, and always do appreciate when you carve out a few minutes for us on CBS Sports Radio.
Absolutely. Thanks, Zach, for having me. Have a good one.
You too. There he is, Coach Dan Lanning, joining us on the show, and that team has been such a joy to watch, and they have one of the more impressive wins this season. I know Utah doesn't have Cam Rising. He's out for the season, but Kyle Whittingham is one of the top coaches in the nation, and they are so tough to beat in their own building, and Oregon didn't just go to their house last weekend. They were confident. I saw Dan Lanning was on game day right before the game earlier that morning. You don't usually see that in a road environment, and that team, and once again, I laid them minus the 6.5 points, right? I liked them. I didn't think the game, though, was going to be 35-6, and that game was over rather quickly with the Ducks making a big statement. And I know the Pac-12 is loaded. The Pac-12 is the preeminent conference in college football this year from top to bottom, in my opinion. But I really want to see, and hopefully we get it, a rematch, Washington and Oregon with two coaches I love in Dan Lanning and Kalen DeBoer. All righty, we'll take a break here on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We will get to Dalvin Cook when we come on back. Trade deadline is 28 minutes away. Is Dalvin Cook going to get traded? We'll discuss with the Jets running back for now. When we return, update time. Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
In the last couple of years, the trade deadline has really had a flurry of action, and today is no different. For the second straight years, the Bears make a move, giving up a second-round pick. This time they acquired lineman Montez Sweat from the Commanders, hoping it works out better than the Chase Claypool acquisition a year ago. The Commanders also sending another big defensive lineman, former second pick overall Chase Young, to the 49ers for a third-round pick. The Vikings have found their quarterback for the rest of the season, acquiring Josh Dobbs from Arizona and a seventh-round pick for a sixth-round pick, although Jalen Hall will start this weekend. They did deal offensive lineman Ezra Cleveland to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Lions have picked up Donovan Peoples-Jones from the Browns for a sixth-round pick. Kenny Pickett says he will play this Thursday night when the Steelers take on the Tennessee Titans. The Rangers have a 2-1 edge over the Diamondbacks entering the Game 4 tonight of the World Series, with Andrew Heaney first up on the mound for the Rangers as they go for their 10th straight postseason win on the road. And Joe Mantiply starts for the Diamondbacks. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Jim Rome here. Coming up Wednesday in the Jungle, a conversation with the newest member of the Ravens Ring of Honor, T-Sizzle, Terrell Suggs. See you Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern and 9 Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining.
We continue. This is Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Now joining us from the New York Jets is Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin joins us on behalf of a science-driven wellness company and supplement manufacturer called Thorne. And Dalvin, of course, is a huge advocate for optimizing his health and wellness on and off the football field. To learn more, please visit www.thorne.com. That is THORNE.com. Dalvin Cook, thanks so much for doing this. How you been?
I've been great, man. I've been great.
Well, it is Halloween, so I don't usually dress like this. I'm dressed as Connor Stallings, the Michigan scout that is in the news right now. But take me back to your youth a little bit. Do you have a favorite Halloween costume through all these years?
Favorite Halloween costume? Nah, I'll probably just put on some pads. Something like that when I was younger. That was probably it.
Is it cool now, especially when you're in Minnesota, now coming over to the Jets? I'm sure when you're in Minnesota, a bunch of kids dressed up as Dalvin Cook when you were playing for them. Is that pretty neat to see?
That's cool, man. That's what you do it for, like to shed that positive light. Halloween come around, see a kid with your jersey on or something. You know, that's what you do it for.
What's your favorite candy, by the way?
Tootsie Roll.
Ooh, nothing like a good Tootsie Roll. I'm a Kit Kat guy or a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, but I could go with some Tootsie Rolls. Dalvin Cook here with us. Let me start you off with your old team, and then we'll get to the Jets. Unfortunate news this past week with Kirk Cousins going down for the season, torn Achilles. You know him well. Just when you saw that after your game, how'd you kind of react to it?
You know, it's always bad when a player, any kind of player, gets hurt in this league because you put so much into the game as far as preparing, just working and just putting yourself in position to go perform, and then you get bad outcomes like that. Kurt is one of the greatest human beings I've been around my entire life. So, I sent my love out to him. He's like a brother to me. So I hope he heal up fast and get back on the field.
And you know what it's like to have to leave one home and start off in a new place. It is the final year of Kirk Cousins' contract. Do you kind of feel like that's it for him in Minnesota, or could there be a chance for a reunion next year?
I don't know, man. Kurt is proven in this league. He just racked the numbers up. That's what he do, man. He's a winner. And just being around him and playing with him, I just think he has a great relationship with the organization, and they understand who he is and how to win football games with him. So I don't know.
Dalvin Cook here with us from the Jets. This got to be an interesting and a little bit of an awkward day for you. Your name's getting thrown in a bunch of trade speculations. It's trade deadline day right at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just how has this day been like for you?
Another day for me. I love where we at as a team. I'm just grinding, man. I let the business handle the business, and I handle the grass, and that's just how I approach it.
You guys are 4-3, and that's without Aaron Rodgers going down 4 games into the season. So it shows the talent that you have on this team. You being a new guy, even though you've been in the league for a while, what has stood out with you with this Jets squad through the first 7 games?
I think the mindset of don't flinch. You see some of the games we be in, it'd be close games, but when it comes down to it, the few games we did lose, it was right at the end. And we just got that don't flinch mentality. We could be playing a certain way come halftime, and then, here we come. Like we ready to come and do what we need to do. So it's a don't flinch mentality, and I think that's a good mindset to have as a unit.
Who is Zach Wilson as a quarterback, and how would you kind of describe him?
He's Zach Wilson. He bring that swag, that his mentality, his way of playing football, and I think it's been good for us. Once we get rolling for him and start making plays, we get into a rhythm, and you see the type of ball he can play at a high level. But he plays his style of game, and that's who he is.
It wasn't that long ago that you just got into the NFL and you immediately got to a pretty elite level. You look at Breece Hall, he was going to win Rookie of the Year last year before getting hurt, and he's come back stronger than ever. You knowing what it takes to be a great running back in this league, what has impressed you so far with Breece Hall?
I just think his mindset, just putting it behind him. We went to play Denver, and that's when he had the big run. I think that was the field he got hurt on. Just putting that behind him and just going out there and just playing ball. I think that's what it comes down to. I had my ACL injury, and that was the only thing getting you over the hump was your mindset. Like, all right, I put the work in, I put the time in. All right, let's go play football. And I think he got that in his mind, and he's just playing ball.
We're similar ages, and we're not old heads, but in the NFL, you're considered now a veteran in this league. When you talk to a younger player like a Breece Hall, knowing what it takes, just what kind of advice do you give him?
Just trust in yourself. In this league, you put a lot into the game, and the part off the field where it's you in the weight room, you putting the time in the field room, you doing all the work that you need to do to lead up to game day to be successful. So, trust yourself and just go turn it loose. And that's just the best advice I could give anybody.
What kind of player are you still? Because this is the first time really in your career after some sustained success where people are wondering how much more football do you have left in you?
I'm me. I'm Dalvin. My brand of ball is my brand of ball. You cut the tape on is what you need to see. And I'm still that guy, man. This opportunity is coming, and I'm going to be ready to go.
Is that difficult for you? Because you're not getting that many opportunities with the success of Breece. And I know that you're a competitor. I know that you're hungry. But you have all these people saying, oh, Dalvin Cook is washed up. Oh, Dalvin Cook's not great anymore. And you still feel like you're the same back that we just saw a year ago in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, nothing's changed. Same mindset, same grind every day. Like I said, opportunities coming, and I'm gonna be ready to go. But you can't let other people's opinion, waver how you prepare for the test. And I prepare the same way, and I'm just ready for opportunity, and that's it.
When the deadline comes today in a little bit at 4 p.m. Eastern, if you don't get traded, how would you react to that?
Like I said, tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna go to work. That's just what it is. Like I said, I like our situation. I like where we're at. I'm a firm believer of things gonna play out how it's gonna play out. And like I said, you cannot never be ready for the test, and I'm gonna be ready for the test.
So this isn't a situation where if you don't get traded, you're happy, like you said. You're not asking for a release or anything like that.
Yeah, I wake up and enjoy going to work. The day I stop doing that, that's the day I stop playing football. My body's ready to go. My mind's ready to play. Yeah, I wake up and I enjoy going to work.
Let me get to your guy, your quarterback, the guy who's supposed to be the starting quarterback this year. Unfortunate injury with Aaron Rodgers. You guys were adversaries for all those years, now on the same team. To just see him on the field before the game, not that long removed after tearing his Achilles, and he's dropping back, and he's saying he's going to come back this year. How do you kind of view that, knowing what he's been through?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm sitting right here watching the Pat McAfee show, and I just seen the video for the first time, like of him dropping back and putting weight on his leg. It's impressive, man. Like, especially a guy of his age, but you just know the way Aaron take care of himself and the way he go about his business, that he's serious about what he's saying. So, you kind of seeing the results. It's a great vibe, man. That's good to see, man. And like you said, that's our leader. So, to see him in good spirits, to see him, aiming to get back with the group is good.
So when he says that he plans on playing and he's not ruling that out, a lot of us go, oh, that's not possible. I guess he is one of one. Do you fully expect Rodgers at some point this year to be running out on that field on MetLife Stadium and taking snaps and playing?
I think a lot comes with that. I think we got to be in a position to go do something as a unit. I think he got to be comfortable enough to come back and do what he needs to do and beat Aaron. Everybody knows the way Aaron played the game. So I think there's a lot come with that. But like I said, he's one of the GOATs, so you don't rule him out.
All right, Dalvin Cook, before we let you run, tell me more about the work that you're doing with Thorn. Once again, www.thorn.com. That's Thorne is how you spell Thorn. Dalvin Cook, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I think just me as a premier athlete, just putting the right things in my body, putting myself in position to go perform each and every day, and how I prepare myself to go train. So I think Thorn has some of the best supplements and some of the best things you could do to put in your body. So, that's where we're at with it now. And I think, they're one of the companies that you need to look into.
Dalvin Cook, enjoy the rest of the day. We appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this. Be well.
Appreciate it, bro.
We continue. There he is, Dalvin Cook, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We are 10 minutes away. Tick, 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 tick to the NFL trade deadline. And so far, Dalvin Cook has not been dealt. I would actually be surprised if he does get traded. And that's why I kind of followed up with, well, if you don't get traded, would you then ask for your release? And he didn't directly answer it, but he did say multiple times in the interview that he is happy going to work and he likes the team, but he wants more carries and more touches. I don't think that's realistic. I would have thought he would have been used more with the Jets, but with that being said, Breece Hall came back quicker than what anyone could have expected, and you just know what this is when you get to 27, 28, 29 years old and you have some wear and tear on the body in the NFL. The moment you don't put up those big, prodigious stats, people then start to say, oh, you're in decline mode. So I think it could be a little mixture of both, where he's starting to decline, but then yet again, he had a wonderful season last year. If he gets more opportunities down the stretch, maybe he starts to look like the old Dalvin Cook, but he still feels as if he's the same player. All righty, coming up in a few moments, we will recap everything from the trade deadline. The two biggest deals so far is Montez Sweat getting traded for a second-round pick to the Chicago Bears. There's a lot of questions on that one. Why did the Bears do this? You could have got him at the end of the year. I have a different thought on that, so we'll get to that in about 8 minutes or so. And then once Montez Sweat got traded, a lot of people are like, I guess they're going to keep Chase Young, who hasn't been healthy, has been a disappointment. I had Paul Alexander, the former offensive line coach. He once compared him to Lawrence Taylor. And I remember I interviewed Chase Young at the Heisman, and I said to him, when you hear the comparisons to Lawrence Taylor, how do you react to it? And his eyes lit up. He couldn't believe it. Now, Chase Young was a dominant player at The Ohio State, but so far, whether it's a mixture of injuries and then this Commanders defense being more disappointing than successful, we have not seen Chase Young pop off. And the Washington Commanders have been a team where they've already questioned Chase Young by not picking up his fifth-year option before the start of the season. So I guess I shouldn't be shocked by the fact that Chase Young got traded today. But once Sweat did get traded, I did not expect Young to get traded. But if you're not going to re-sign him and give him a new contract, you may as well get what you could get. And Montez Sweat ends up going for more than what Chase Young ended up going for, because Chase Young only got traded for a third-round pick to the San Francisco 49ers. So the Niners defense, which was dynamite a few weeks ago, now gets called under question and gets put under the magnifying glass. Now all of a sudden they go make a move to give them another weapon on the defensive side of the ball. And some people, they obsess over the third-round pick, but I do think that it's a low-risk, high-reward with Chase Young. And that defense, I know we all talk about the offense and Brock Purdy not having Dabo Samuel and Trent Williams, and is Brock Purdy a system quarterback? But that defense the last few weeks has really done a 180, especially up against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and it shows you how great of a player Joe Burrow is. The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. This week's player is Vikings linebacker Danielle Hunter in Sunday's 24-10 win over the Packers. Hunter had a sack and 2 forced fumbles, and on the season, Hunter has 10 sacks and 3 forced fumbles. So he is the Defensive Player of the Week. And once again, that's brought to you by the Navy Federal Credit Union. All righty, we'll come on back. We'll see what happens in the final 6 minutes, what news is breaking, who's getting dealt. Usually the NFL trade deadline, it ends up being more underwhelming than overwhelming. But let's see what chaos ensues in the final 6 minutes. We'll react to it on the other side. Plus, I have compiled my list through the first 8 weeks of the season, as now we're moving on to week 9, of the coaches that are on the hot seat and whose seat is warmest. We are scouting. We're getting ready to go. Connor Stallion, Zach Gelb here with you on this Halloween. Coming on back after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Happy Halloween to all. And we're having some fun today. Pens are down. The exams are getting collected. We'll tell you what happened with the NFL trade deadline in just a second. Fun hour number 1 of our radio program when the coach of Oregon, fresh off the practice field, Dan Lanning, did stop by with us. The Ducks only have 1 loss on the season, and we're all hoping that there is a rematch, Washington and Oregon, in the Pac-12 championship game. And we just joined a few moments ago by Dalvin Cook, and all indications so far, maybe something happens in the next few minutes where it gets reported, but it looks like Dalvin Cook is staying with the New York Jets. And with it being Halloween, I'm dressed up today as Connor Stallings, the scout at Michigan, or Harbaugh's best friend, and I'm in my Michigan hat, my Michigan Army sweatshirt, have khaki pants on as well. Got the headset and the binoculars with some sunglasses too, as I'm kind of incognito. And Mike McDaniel is on the other side of the glass in Stu Kovacs. Stu, you know, someone just commented and said to me, oh, like, are you wearing khakis? And I could stand up real quickly. I don't know if this is going to be the best visual, but you could kind of see, oh, it's definitely not the best visual. You're getting like a junk shot right there on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. But you do see some khaki pants right there. For Stu, I don't know how you're going to show this. Well, first off, I have a few questions. You do look like Mike McDaniel. Where did you get the Dolphins sweatshirt? Because I feel as if Stu only wears his team gear. Did you buy that, or did you have that somewhere in your house?
Yeah, aside from college sports, I really only wear my team stuff. So, yes, this was an Amazon purchase that may be an Amazon return in the next few days.
Oh, you didn't cut off the tags?
I did not.
Wow. So you're going to wear it. It's going to be...
We'll see. I might keep it. I don't mind the Dolphins, so I'm thinking about it. I'm 50-50 at this point.
If you want to bid on Stu's Game Use sweatshirt, 855-212-4CBS. It may have been worn, maybe not, by Mike McDaniel. I think we could sell it. I mean, it would kind of be one of those certification companies that say something's real and it's not actually real. and we could post a photo and see if people actually believe Mike McDaniel wore that. But do me a favor. I don't know how you're going to do this. Like maybe you have to stand up on your chair, but those chairs are very flimsy. Not that Stu's a big guy and he would break that chair, but look at the dedication here by Stu as he's standing up on the table. Oh, this is another junk shot. I don't know if this is great, but Stu kind of has the Capri's look. And look at those calves. Oh, yeah. Sexy Stu. Stu. Look at Stu right there. And then Mickey Mouse in Samter is on the other side of the glass. His beautiful baby, his daughter, dressed up as Minnie Mouse, so very cute. And Samter has the Mickey Mouse ears on and even the bow tie. And even has the white gloves, right?
Ha ha, I sure do. Ha ha.
Man, you are really creepy when you do that. So it's a fun day here on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio.
Just don't use that M word. It's so gross. Ha ha.
Oh, the
M.
I was like, Michael. What the heck did you just say?
M as in Michael.
Gotcha.
Not
what?
the other one.
Moist?
Ugh.
I can't really call you moist today. That wouldn't be good.
No, that wouldn't fit with my costume.
Yeah. All righty. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Let's get into the NFL trade deadline. What a day this has been. So here are the big stories. Remember yesterday where it was basically said that Josh Dobbs was going to be the guy, and then out of nowhere, it's, we're actually benching Josh Dobbs, and we're going to Clayton Tune, and Kyler Murray's just not ready quite yet for the Arizona Cardinals. Well, Josh Dobbs got traded to the Minnesota Vikings, and we were speculating, and Jaron Hall will start this week for the Minnesota Vikings, but we were speculating who the Vikings could sign or maybe trade for. Maybe Jameis Winston. That was a name that we threw out there. And it was a name that I saw there was like some report on the internet, which I don't know if it was from a credible source or not, that the Vikings are trying to get a deal done with the Saints. But there wasn't that many great names that we were gravitating towards when it came to the Minnesota Vikings. But now they make the move for Josh Dobbs. All right, it's competent, and he's someone that was fine with really no talent around him with the Arizona Cardinals, and now it's just like one of those things where is Jaron Hall going to give the job up to Josh Dobbs? And also, for a player like Josh Dobbs, you've been in the league for a while. You've come from one place to another. Last year, right, walks right into Tennessee and gets on the field. So I don't know how long it's going to take him to really dissect the playbook and understand the playbook as well. But for this week, he is not going to get the start in Josh Dobbs for the Vikings as he's just getting to Minnesota, and it is going to be Jaron Hall for another week with Kirk Cousins done for the season with a torn Achilles. Let me just play a little game here. And I'm just going to play the game of, do you think the Minnesota Vikings made this phone call? And just give me a yes or a no on the other side. Do you think the Minnesota Vikings made a phone call to Ben Roethlisberger at all? Who Big Ben's now been out of the league for 2 years. He does the footballing podcast. Did Big Ben get a phone call from the Minnesota Vikings?
No.
No.
I would agree. No as well. Because his arm was shot at the end of his career. Now, how about someone that there was a report this offseason that maybe, just maybe, he would have been starting in the Super Bowl for the San Francisco 49ers? Do you think Phillip Rivers, who's been out for a while, got a call? Phillip Rivers, by the way, is now 41 years old, if you want to feel a little bit older.
No.
I still say no.
Yeah, me neither.
I wouldn't surprise me if maybe they thought about making a phone call, but I don't think they actually made that phone call. Now, do you think Tom Brady got a phone call from the Minnesota Vikings? Because that's one they should make, and you at least have to have Tom Brady say no. But did the Vikings make that phone call to TB12? Yes or no?
Nope.
I think it's more likely than the other two, but I still say no.
I think they may have reached out to his agent. This is just a guess. Like, hey, does Tom have any interest? Not a direct phone call to Brady, but you at least got to explore there with a team that's now 4-4, and you're eventually going to be getting Justin Jefferson back. So right now, whether they made the phone calls or not, doesn't matter because they traded for Josh Dobbs, so it indicate any of those guys that are out there even if they made the phone call, they either said no or the Vikings just sat back and never actually placed the phone call. Now let's get to Chase Young. So Chase Young goes to the 49ers for a third-round pick. Chase Young has been up and down, more disappointing than someone that we are blown away by. But this is a good landing spot. You have a 49ers team where they're not as bad as the way that they're playing the last 3 weeks. I still ultimately believe come January they're going to be one of the better teams in the NFL. But with Steve Wilks going in there, this defense, which has been so dominant, has now done a 180 with Steve Wilks being the defensive coordinator after losing your last two defensive coordinators in Robert Saleh and also in DeMeco Ryans. So bringing in Chase Young is a low risk, high reward. And I have no problem with this move. I am someone that, I don't want to say I'm the Les Snead of sports talk radio, but I do operate kind of on that philosophy of bleep those draft picks. And when you are the 49ers and you are a team that can win a Super Bowl, I don't think you leave any stone unturned. And this is a move where even if it doesn't work out, I'm okay with the risk based off the potential of what Chase Young could be. And I know what potential means. It means you haven't done it yet. But as long as Chase Young could stay healthy, there's a lot of potential. And even though you have now Josh Harris coming in as the new owner and you no longer have that vile you-know-what in Daniel Snyder running the team, I think a new environment for Chase Young and hopefully new health maybe resurrects and saves his football career. But if you can't get it done in San Francisco as a defensive player, where are you going to be able to get it done? Now, this was probably the most controversial one of the day. Montez Sweat. Not surprising he got traded, but he got traded to the Bears for a second-round pick. Now, this is back-to-back years where the Chicago Bears give up a second-round pick at the trade deadline. Last year it was for Chase Claypool, who I think is now like a tight end or working to be a tight end on the Miami Dolphins. But Chase Claypool had one really good season with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it was like, the Steelers drafted another good wide receiver. And then really his demise was right after that playoff game against the Browns, because if memory serves me right, it was Juju Smith-Schuster who before the game said, the Browns is the Browns when talking about Cleveland. And then the next day, after the Steelers lost to the Browns, Chase Claypool got on, I want to say it was a Twitch stream. Now, I sound really old after saying I wasn't old. But I think he got on a Twitch stream or some video game stream, whatever it was. And Chase Claypool said, pretty much, I have no respect for Cleveland and the Chiefs will take care of them next week. But you weren't able to take care of them. When you went up against them, you guys were home and they beat the snot out of you. And also Kevin Stefanski had COVID for that game. So they didn't even have their coach when the Cleveland Browns walked into your building and just absolutely dominated you. But last year, trading a second for Chase Claypool, I guess the way that the Bears could justify it was they needed to go get a weapon for Justin Fields. Now, it was the wrong weapon. Chase Claypool, he's just not motivated, and he doesn't put all of his effort into football. And I don't think you could salvage his career. There's talent there, but if you don't have it mentally, you're not really going to succeed in the league. And now you had the Bears already given up on him after giving up a second-round pick just a year ago at the trade deadline. Now the Bears, though, give up a second-round pick once again to get Montez Sweat. And I'm okay with this move. And I know there's going to be people that say, why give up a second-round draft pick when you could have just signed him in free agency if you wanted him that badly? I don't believe it's a bad thing getting him in your building. And even though there may be changes next year, like the GM could be shown the door at the end of the year, the head coach could be showed the door at the end of the year, or he could just not like it and get a better offer. You could always franchise tag that player, and you have that right. So maybe they like Montez Sweat that much, and that's why you do it. And I'm okay with giving up a second-round pick for Montez Sweat, because even if it's like the 35th or 36th pick of the draft, who you're drafting in the second round, is it going to be better than Montez Sweat? Right now, I would say probably no. So those were some of the big moves today. Other moves, Jalen Johnson of the Bears was given permission to seek a trade, but so far he has not got dealt, and now we're 12 minutes past the deadline, and about 10 minutes right before the deadline, they said the expectation is he won't get dealt. I think a sneaky move right here, the Buffalo Bills, they needed some corner help because they did lose their star corner once again, Tre'Davious White, for the season. They get Rasul Douglas for the Green Bay Packers, who's done a nice job. I know he's bounced around the league in a few places, but Rasul Douglas and a 5th-round pick are going to the Buffalo Bills for a 3rd-round pick. So that's a good depth move, a good depth acquisition for a really underrated quarterback in Rasul Douglas. And I just saw this one, Donovan Peoples-Jones, who was like a fine wide receiver. You know, at best, a number 2, but probably more so a number 3. Donovan Peoples-Jones goes to the Lions for a 6th-round pick. And you know what that tells me? You look at the Lions last night. Sorry to bring this back up, Stu. Sam Laporte is a stud, the rookie tight end. You know how good Amon-Ra St. Brown is, and he was playing hurt. They've been up and down on Jamison Williams and had the gambling suspension, the injuries, all of that. And there's been some drops for him. I don't think the coaching staff is that enamored with Jamison Williams. So bringing in some more competition at the wide receiving position, I don't think is the worst thing. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think the best way to describe him is he's a solid wide receiver in the league. And you just add some depth to that position where if Jamison Williams doesn't get back on track and doesn't turn out to be the player that you thought he could be, and he has the speed, he has the potential there, I don't think that's a bad move there by the Detroit Lions. Once again, you practically gave up nothing to go get him. It was only a 6th-round pick. So let me just peruse Twitter here real quickly. There is nothing really else that has been reported. The Patriots listened, but didn't end up trading Josh Uche or Kyle Duggar or their offensive lineman Michael Onwenu from Michigan. And Albert Breer says they never got any calls on Mac Jones or running back Ezekiel Elliott. Real quickly before we take a break here, let me just go through my hot seat rankings, because last night that was a big topic of conversation when you have Josh McDaniels basically projectile vomit all over our television screens on Monday Night Football. And you walk away from that game with the takes of, geez, Josh McDaniels should be fired. Jimmy Garoppolo's not the answer. And you feel bad for Devontae Adams. But when I go through my hot seat rankings right now, I know this guy just got an extension. We still don't know the details of it. I don't believe Belichick gets fired at the end of this year, but Belichick is on the hot seat. Ultimately, I do believe he's back next year. And the one way he could get fired after this year is at the end of the year when Robert Kraft and Belichick come together and meet. If Belichick shows attitude, if Belichick shows resistance to Kraft and what Kraft is saying, maybe Kraft goes, I don't care if I just extended you. We're going to move on. Here's a guy that is going to enter the hot seat conversation. He was there before the start of the season. That his team got off to a good start. Now they have fallen and have come back down to earth. Todd Bowles with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look how quickly that changes, where he probably swapped spots with Dennis Allen. Not that the Saints are definitely back. I still think the Falcons win that division. But Todd Bowles back on the hot seat watch in at number 4. 3, it's Matt Eberflus. He is an awful coach. I never got that hire by the Chicago Bears. That was a head-scratcher, if you ask me. And sometimes there's head-scratching hires. Like Mike McDaniel, everyone's like, who the heck was that? I'm not talking about Stu, even though he's dressed up as Mike McDaniel today. But Mike McDaniel's turned out to be a really good coach. When Nick Sirianni got hired at the Eagles, it was like, who the heck is that? That's a head-scratching hire. Turned out to be a really good coach. Matt Eberflus, it was like, really? That's the guy that gets a head coaching job? And the last 2 years, it has been a disaster with the Chicago Bears. Number 2, it's Josh McDaniels. He should be fired. He should be fired right now. But what could save him, and I hate to do this for Stu because it could send him to a really dark place, there is a chance he's back next year because of how cheap Mark Davis is, how it feels like the Raiders are like a poverty franchise. But they just paid John Gruden a whole lot of money in the settlement. McDaniel's contract is probably 5 years, I would imagine, because he was a hot commodity with what he did in New England, even though he was a disaster as a head coach in Denver. You're basically going to be paying 2 coaches to not coach the team and then 1 coach to coach the team if you get rid of McDaniels this season. So, Stu, on a scale of 1 to 10, and I put McDaniels in at number 2, and I made it clear he should be fired, but 1 to 10, 1, No way they're going to do it, and they're definitely going to do it at the end of the season. Where is your Raider fan confidence level that Mark Davis will actually give Josh McDaniels at the end of the year the pink slip?
I wish it was a 10. I think it's probably more like a 3.
Wow, that low?
I think it's low. I think it'd have to be really bad, like fall off the rails bad for them to part ways with him. Because like you said, I think it's the money situation.
But what is this right now? If last night's not falling off the rails, you have Devontae Adams slamming his helmet, lost for words at the end of the game. You have Josh Jacobs frustrated and saying it's up to other people to figure this out. Jimmy G, he's going to be back next year. He shouldn't be just because where the contract is. I think they'll get out of it after this season. This team, you got 3 top 20 players, and Adams probably gone at the end of this year because he'll ask for a trade. Jacobs probably gone at the end of the year because McDaniels values running back by committee, not an individual running back. At least you got Max Crosby. He's a stud. I think he was ranked like 12th or 13th on that top 100 list. He's still underrated. That dude, or maybe it was 17th, but that dude is just an absolute dog in the NFL. But this feels like it was rock bottom last night.
It did, but they somehow have 3 wins. And if they end up with 6 wins, I don't know. I think it would have to be something.
Lipstick on a pig?
Yeah, I think it has to be something where they win like one more game the rest of the season and then they get rid of him. I don't think, winning 3 or 4 games and they win 6 or 7 games, then they keep him, I think, unfortunately.
Is this Tommy DeVito against Jimmy G next week? I know there's some reports that maybe Daniel Jones is coming back. We got Raiders and Giants, 4:25 p.m. Eastern on Fox. Who's watching that game?
And then the week after, it's Jets on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, but at least, though,
at least the Jets are a little
Zach
better.
Wilson. At least the Jets are 4-3. They'll be coming off the Chargers game. We'll see what happens. At least they got a good defense. But you still have to play Miami and Kansas. Oh, you got Miami and Kansas City back-to-back weeks. And you still have Kansas City another time. You haven't even played Kansas City twice this year.
This is correct, yep.
And they're going to be PO'd. How many wins the rest of the way the Raiders get? Just real quickly, give me win-loss.
I say 2. 2 more wins.
Giants?
I think they could beat the Giants.
All right, there's one. Jets?
No.
Dolphins?
No.
Kansas City?
No.
Bye week. I would say you can't lose the bye week, but the Raiders usually lose the bye week. Vikings?
No Cousins now. I say win.
Chargers?
No.
Chiefs?
No.
Colts? Daniels got one? Win one for the old Gipper?
I say no.
And then the Broncos?
They'll split. They already beat the Broncos. They'll lose the second one.
So you have them at 5 wins?
Yeah.
Oof. It's a dreadful.
It's a bad year.
And then finally, Ron Rivera, his seat's the hottest. We all know he's going to get fired at the end of the year. And they really waved the white flag today, which I can't fault them for in getting rid of Montez Sweat and Chase Young. So those are my hot seat rankings right now. Belichick at 5, Todd Bowles 4, Eberflus 3, McDaniels 2, and Ron Rivera 1. We'll take a break. When we come on back, the biggest beef in the last 24 hours on the internet. It's Dabo Swinney against a fan. We'll react next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
There was a moment in the game when I said to myself, even though the game appeared to be pretty much over, holy smokes, the Cincinnati Bengals are really back. And it was late in the fourth quarter where Joe Burrow took off and he got a first down. And he jumped up and he gave out this roar. And that roar and that exuberant scream signified to me that that was Joe Burrow telling the rest of the National Football League, you thought we were done this year. You thought we were having a poor season. You counted us out. Well, guess what, folks? I'm back. I'm healthy. And I'm here to kick your ass the rest of the NFL season. And that's the Joe Burrow I love.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. So busy sports night last evening. We had the final game of Week 8 where Stu's Raiders just got destroyed and embarrassed on national television against the Detroit Lions. And good for the Lions to continue their winning ways and bounce back after a bad defeat to the Ravens. And you look in the NFC, the Eagles are definitely one. I still think many people would suggest that the 49ers are the second best team in the NFC. But from a record standpoint, when you look at the schedule the rest of the way and where the Lions are, the Lions have a good chance to maybe be the 2 seed in the NFC with a lot of winnable games still on their schedule. They don't have many tough games remaining. So you'll also look at the Seahawks too inside that NFC. And that's Dallas as well. You're not going to throw out the Cowboys, but we're going to find out what the Cowboys are a little bit more this weekend when they go to South Philadelphia and square up against the Philadelphia Eagles. And they've had some success against the Eagles through the last few years. They've got annihilated by the San Francisco 49ers, but I think the Cowboys still have that stench of being a good team, just stuck on being a good team, and they're not ready to take that next step to elite and being a great team. But that's kind of the field in the NFC where you don't trust anyone in the NFC South. Just inside the North, it's the Lions. In the East, yeah, sure, Eagles won. Cowboys are the second best team in the NFC East. And then the NFC West, it's the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. So you had that Monday Night Football game, good win for the Lions. Then you had the World Series where the first two games, the Diamondbacks choked game one. Then in game two, the Diamondbacks annihilated the Rangers. And last night in game three, Max Scherzer starts, then takes himself out of the game because of the injury. And the Rangers, even though the Diamondbacks got some crappy calls by the umpire, especially what should have been ball four and would have been a leadoff walk in the ninth inning, the Rangers take game three. So that series is 2-1 in favor of the Rangers. And you had a little hockey on last night, too. I'm a big hockey fan. And my New York Hockey Rangers, they wrapped up a road trip and got a winner by Mika Zibanejad in overtime. And the Rangers go 5-0 on that road trip, and they're coming back for Thursday up against the Carolina Hurricanes at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. So when I have a 2 TV setup in my apartment. I have like more TVs than apartment space actually in New York City. So on one TV, I had the Rangers. The other TV, I had the football. And then on my laptop, I did have the baseball on. And I see this story pop up that Dabo Swinney got into it with a caller on his radio show. And I'm thinking to myself, how dumb can Dabo be? And you know me, the last few years, and it really started in 2021, and I got dragged on a message board, a Clemson message board. But I called out Dabo. I said Dabo is arrogant and Dabo is failing to adapt with how football should be played at the time and how the college landscape is shifting towards in 2021. And it's only got worse. Like, that offense was putrid. The recruiting wasn't good. They weren't able to get the most out of DJ Uiagalelei with poor play calling and pedestrian play calling. And the offensive line was terrible. And then you see with NIL and the transfer portal pop up, Dabo has one player on the roster this year through the transfer portal. And he made fun of name, image, and likeness, saying, our program was built off God's name, image, and likeness. So Dabo Swinney, who has been one of the creme de la creme coaches in college football, right? He has been to the top. He has been at the pinnacle of the sport. Until Kirby Smart came along, he was the one guy that consistently challenged Nick Saban and did overtake, at times, Nick Saban in the sport. But the last 2-3 years, Clemson has lost their way, where the standard for Clemson isn't just winning the ACC, and they're not going to win the ACC this year. The standard's getting to the college football playoff and being a force. And I remember I was talking to Isaiah Simmons this past year at the Super Bowl, and Isaiah Simmons said, how could you say Clemson's taken a step back? And I said, because the standard for Clemson is to get to a college football playoff and win a national championship. Now, it's not going to happen every year. And Dabo's still a coach that did so much for Clemson. I'm not saying you got to move on from him, but he needs to adapt if he wants to take that next step. Like, for example, look at the legendary Mike Krzyzewski. Coach K immediately refused one-and-dones. Hated one-and-dones. Didn't believe in them. Then you don't win for a few years. You get embarrassed a little bit. People start questioning the great Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K, because they expect a certain standard all the way up here. And then what does Coach K do? He adapts. He gets one-and-dones. He wins a national championship again. So that's what Dabo has to do. Even though Dabo, at times, is pouting, crying, stomping his feet like a 5-year-old, he needs to get with the times and embrace NIL and the transfer portal. And if he doesn't, he will be a dinosaur. He will be archaic. And he will be someone that you go, oh, that's what Dabo Swinney used to do. Not what Dabo Swinney will continue to do into the future, being a winning head football coach. So I'm seeing this fight back and forth last night without hearing the audio. And just by reading the quotes, my immediate reaction was, and sometimes you do that, right? You see something and then you hear it and it's a totally different opinion. But at first I'm like, how dumb is Dabo to get into it with the fan? But then after I heard the audio, I turned on the fan and was actually Team Dabo, and I'm never in the last 2-3 years Team Dabo. So let's start this off. It's long audio. It is a long call, and then it's a long response by Dabo Swinney. We tried to truncate it a little bit. Here is just the caller, I believe his name is Tyler, to Dabo Swinney's radio show.
Why are we paying you $11.5 million to go 4-4? And it's not just this year.
What's this guy's name?
Tyler.
Hey, Tyler, I've listened to enough of you, Tyler. Listen, you can have all your opinions that you want, all right? I don't know how old you are. Don't really care, all right? But let me tell you something. We won 11 games last year, and you're part of the problem, to be honest with you, because that is part of the problem. It's people like you that all you do is the appreciation. The expectation is greater than the appreciation, and that's the problem. Is this a bad year? Yeah, and it's my responsibility. Take 100% responsibility for it. But all this bull crap you're thinking, all these narratives you read, listen, man, you can have your opinion all you want, and you can apply for the job, and good luck to you, all right? We've won so much that even when it used to be the fun's in the winning, now even when you win, people like you complain.
So a nice little back and forth. It was about like a minute question. And to Dabo's credit, he let the caller, until cutting him off after like a minute, get most of what he wanted to say on the radio show. And the caller sounded like a jackass because he's like, oh, a lot of what you're saying reminds me a lot from the Tommy Bowden days. And it's just like, yo, he has won 2 national championships there. And I've been critical of Dabo. And he's been arrogant. He's been obnoxious. But the guy, you can't take away from what he did. And the simple reason why he's getting paid $11.5, $12 million is because no one talked about Clemson. He not only made Clemson relevant, he made Clemson one of the best programs in the country. So that's why he's getting paid like that. Now, if he continues to do this, what he's done this year, they've already lost a bunch of games, then yeah, eventually that is going to wear off. But imagine being a caller, and you call in, and you say, like, why are you getting paid $11.5 million? And I thought it was disrespectful, not pressuring the coach and asking him a question, but you've basically have dismissed everything Dabo Swinney has done. And that's coming from someone who is as critical could be of Dabo and believes Dabo needs to adapt. Now, let's get the second audio clip in here. This is more from the response of Dabo Swinney.
And I'm where I am because I've worked my ass off every single day. And I ain't going to let some smart-ass kid get on this phone and create this stuff. So if you got a problem with that, I don't care, all right? I work for the Board of Trustees, the president, and the AD. And if they're tired of me leading this program, all they got to do is let me know. I'll go somewhere else where there is an appreciation. We've won 2 national championships. Clemson went 35 years, all right, probably since before you were born, your whole freaking life. And we've won 2 in 7 years. And we earned it. But I'm not going to sit here and let you call. I don't give a crap how much money I make. You ain't going to talk to me like I'm 12 years old. You'd be freaking kidding me.
Now, I will say I do believe the caller was a little bit older than what Dabo is making it out to be, because he was referencing some things before Dabo Swinney even got there. But with that being said, the only criticism I'll make of Dabo, and I'm more Team Dabo here, I'm okay with firing back. I'm okay with the response. It didn't need to go for 5-6 minutes. But he's annoyed because for the first time in a long time, or maybe ever, people are questioning Dabo. Like, it's one thing when he gets hired and everyone's like, who the heck is this? It's the worst hire ever, blah, 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 with the articles that were written. But to the level that he's got and to the top of the mountain where he's been, now, deservedly so, people are trying to knock him down. Now, this guy's not a trash football coach. I just still ranked him inside the top 5 of coaches in college football. But if you don't embrace NIL, if you don't embrace the transfer portal, you're going to go further and further down that list. So Dabo's clearly agitated, and it seems like he's agitated with a lot of the fan base because a few weeks ago, he was like, well, maybe we need to lose more games to jump off the bandwagon and get a lot of fans off the bandwagon. I don't think that's a smart thing to say. I think that was a stupid comment by Dabo. But here it is once again, him showing his sensitivities to the issue. So with that going viral last night, Dabo made available today, probably for one of his weekly press conferences since it's a Tuesday. Here was Dabo Swinney talking about the incident today at his presser.
There are many people wondering what triggered last night. A great deal of emotion from you.
I mean, I had some idiot go Old Testament on me, and he got an Old Testament response. What else is there to add? What else is there to add? I'm going to fight for this program. People hijack the phone call. They want to hear themselves talk. That's why most coaches around the country don't take calls. That reason right there. But I know who I am. I've never flinched, and I ain't going to flinch now.
So I'm glad we played that, because I almost forgot when I'm listening to it last night. And the caller was going on and on and on, and he was bloviating. He just wouldn't shut up. It was like, all right, ask the question for crying out loud. But the caller starts saying, Dabo, I appreciate you being a man of faith. And he's like, have you heard this chapter, this verse in the Bible, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what are we doing here? We're talking to a football coach. I know Dabo is a religious guy, but he was then making it out to be a religious quote and then correlating it to football. And I think maybe that's what really got underneath Dabo's skin. Because when they say you're a bad football coach, then to try to use the Bible against you, that's what probably did set Dabo off looking back at it. But the entire thing, the call went on for way too long. The response went on for way too long. And I'm okay with Dabo responding and showing a little intensity, a little fire. That's good. But ultimately, for the 9,000th time in this segment, if you want Clemson to get back or to be better, you got to adapt with the times. And ultimately, Dabo needs to get that. And we'll see what happens this offseason with the transfer portal and also NIL. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Let's get the latest CBS Sports Radio update in with the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, the NFL trade deadline has passed, and there were a flurry of moves today. The Washington Commanders traded half of their defensive line, with the 49ers beefing up their own. It was formidable before, and now they get Chase Young, the former second pick overall, goes to San Francisco for a conditional third-round pick. Washington also moving Montez Sweat to Chicago for a second-round pick this year, and we now know why. The Cardinals decided to change quarterbacks this week, as they're reportedly sending Josh Dobbs to the Vikings after the season-ending injury to Kirk Cousins. However, they do intend to start Jaron Hall on Sunday against the Falcons. Minnesota didn't stop there, sending offensive lineman Ezra Cleveland to the Jaguars, and the Browns have dealt Donovan Peoples-Jones to the Lions, while Rasul Douglas goes to the Bills with a fifth-round pick headed back to Green Bay. The Rangers now have the upper hand again in the World Series with a 2-1 lead heading into tonight's Game 4. Both teams will be using a bullpen-heavy game tonight, with Andrew Heaney and Joe Mantiply starting on the mound. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Jim Rome here. Coming up Wednesday in the Jungle, a conversation with the newest member of the Ravens Ring of Honor, T-Sizzle, Terrell Suggs. See you Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern and 9 Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Let's start out with Dan Campbell, the head football coach of the Detroit Lions. And this is Dan Campbell on the win against the Las Vegas Raiders to wrap up Week 8 on Monday Night Football.
The most important thing about this game was us getting our identity back, and that was what all the work that we put in this week was about. The whole focus was about getting back to what we do, and that was the most important thing, and that really showed through today. Was it perfect? It wasn't perfect, but ultimately we got what I wanted to get out of it.
That's good. You can only go up against the opponent that's on your schedule, but I don't think that solves any of the questions about the Lions where, yeah, we all know they're going to win their first division title for the first time since 1993. We'll see if they're going to win a playoff game for the first time since 1991. But you look at their schedule this year up against the quote-unquote better teams, you haven't fared well. Where you lost to Seattle and you lost to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I know the Lion fan is going to say, but we beat the Chiefs. You did. Congratulations, game one. That's a Chiefs team without Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. Now, you can only play who you play when you play them. So you did beat Kansas City. That's a factual statement. Kansas City also just lost to the Denver Broncos, and now we're wondering how good they are, even though I still think they're the best team in the AFC. But you look at their schedule the rest of the way. Bye week, you play the Chargers. A mild reaction, you win that game. It's all right. Bears stink. Packers stink. Saints are Bears stink. Broncos stink. You play the Vikings twice, and you get a good opponent in the Cowboys. But you may not get a great opponent again until the playoffs. Let's go to Daniel Jones. He was doing his weekly spot on the Up and Adams show with Kay Adams. Here's Daniel Jones on the current status of his health.
Feeling good, feeling better. Cleared, so ready to go and go through the week and get ready to play on Sunday.
So seems like Daniel Jones is going to return, and the plan is for him to return. But a few weeks ago, they were saying that he was going to be back, and then he wasn't back, and he's missed the last few games. So we'll see if he ends up playing this upcoming weekend up against Stu's Las Vegas Raiders. See, Stu, it always go back to your football team. Let's go to Mac Jones. He was on Sports Radio WEEI in Boston, and Mac Jones was commenting on his young receivers after Kendrick Bourne is lost for the season with a torn ACL.
Really want them to take advantage of the opportunity, and I've seen Booty play, in college and worked with him early in training camp and in the first game and stuff, and I have a lot of confidence in him. And same thing with Tyquan. Tyquan, he's from Florida. I've seen him play in high school. I've seen him play in college, and I've been really impressed with what he's done in the NFL. He just needs an opportunity, and I believe in a lot of those guys. And like I said, I want to grow with the young players, see what we can do to kind of, build for the future too.
Oh, Mac, I hate to break it to you. What else are you going to say? But you're not going to be in the future playing. The Patriots should play all their young guys right now because they stink. The tank is back on. They're projected to have a top 5 draft pick. Good job that they had a touchdown right out of the gate, and then they lost up against the Miami Dolphins. I did not want to see another effort like they had up against the Buffalo Bills where they ended up winning the game, because I've made this as clear could be. I want the Patriots to lose as many games as possible this year because I want that next game-changing quarterback, and I want the number 1 overall pick. Here is Arthur Smith when asked about Desmond Ridder starting this week. Remember, last week Desmond Ridder left with an injury. Taylor Heineke came in. They didn't win the game, but the offense played better. Here is the coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
If Des is healthy, does he start this week?
I got to see where he's at. That's all best I can give you. I got to see where he's at. I see if that's the best thing for his team this week. Obviously, it's not something I'm concerned long term. He's done a lot of good things, but we got to find a way to go win this game. And sometimes it has nothing to do with just medically. It's everything else that goes with it.
So then the answer is, I don't know. That sounded more like a no than a yes, but he didn't want to say yes in that situation when asked if he is cleared to play and if Desmond Ridder is healthy, will he play? It's a yes or no question. There was a lot of gray there, and there was a lot of non-commitment and a non-committal answer there. I lean more towards that they're going to start Taylor Heineke this weekend, and they should start Taylor Heineke this weekend because he was good last week, and he played well. And you're going up against a Vikings team where the defense has improved, but offensively, they're going to be trotting out Jaron Hall once again, even though they just acquired Josh Dobbs today at the trade deadline from the Arizona Cardinals. Let's go to Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss, hotty toddy. They play A&M this weekend. Here is Lane Kiffin when asked about being in the top 10 for 3 straight years.
Well, I think that's kind of neat, 3 straight years to be in the top 10, but it doesn't matter to me except for what do you finish. So it's good that it brings attention to the program and to be able to do that, especially as you're going against a program that normally you would think would be the team in the top 10 3 years in a row with their roster. Though what really matters is where do you finish at the end of the year. We try to, achieve our goals and not let others achieve their goals. I read where Jimbo said their goal is to be bowl eligible, so if we can do in the way of that, that would be good for us too.
A&M is 5-3. Ole Miss is 7-1. It's been another disappointing year for A&M. I kind of like that dry shade that Jimbo kind of threw in there at the end. And I did not hear the quote from Jimbo, but if that's true that Jimbo said with this team this year, the goal is just to be bowl eligible, maybe that was like a start and there's like 2 or 3 other goals. But if the goal is just to be bowl eligible at A&M, and that's an actual quote what Jimbo said, yeah, that's another reason why he should no longer be the coach of the A&M Aggies. Let's go to Corey Seager on the team's mentality last night. It was 1-1, back-and-forth series, and now the Rangers are up 2-1.
We've preached about this all year. It's a pass the baton mentality for us. You don't always have to be the guy that day, and that's comforting. That takes stress off people, and we've done a good job of that, and we're hoping to continue to do it.
And let's go to the Diamondbacks manager Torey Lovullo on some of the missed calls by the umpires last night.
There were missed calls. They got to tighten it up. Just the same as I'd say that to everybody. But I will say this, that the umps are doing their absolute best. Ball's moving at high velocities. It's getting manipulated at home plate. But, yeah, there were some calls that didn't go our way today. Was that the difference in the game? I don't know. I don't think so.
That's a fair answer. What else are you going to say? Then you're just going to end up getting fined. But in the final inning, in the bottom of the ninth, that should have been a leadoff walk. That was ball 4. Instead, they call it a strike, and then the batter got out right after that. Mentally, they were saying on the broadcast, tough to recover when you think you should be on first base, and then you go, oh, wait, now I got to try to make up for it, but you're still thinking about the missed call that ended up calling a strike when you should have been awarded first base and got ball 4. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. We'll talk some Arizona Cardinals when we come on back, as we got one more hour to play on this Halloween.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
And away we go, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Happy Halloween to you. There is more on the Michigan front, and I could confirm, since I am dressed today as Connor Stallions, that I was not on the Central Michigan sideline. But the actual guy, I don't know if he was or wasn't. Chris Vanini says that The Athletic has obtained more photos of the goateed sunglasses person on the Central Michigan sideline at Michigan State. CMU, Central Michigan University, is looking into whether this is Connor Stallions or not. Now, last night, I saw this photo, and I was like, is that really Connor Stallions? Like, it's just a guy with a goatee, a Central Michigan hat, and sunglasses. And I saw someone said that it was a coach on their staff. So I just thought it was one of those things where it was something being made of something that was really a whole lot of nothing. But the fact that Central Michigan is now looking into whether that was Connor Stallions or not, and to be fair, even though I'm dressed up like him, I don't know much about him. A Marine, had some association, obviously, with the Michigan program, still does. And he got close enough to Harbaugh where he's standing right next to him and he's employed by Michigan. Like, we all know that. But just because he's on the sideline for Central Michigan when they're going up against Michigan State, I don't know. That doesn't look good, clearly, if it is him. But I don't really know what else to say on this matter. But this does make out to be a really fun story. Because a lot of times in college football, when you have off-the-field stories, and I know this is technically a mixture of both, but a lot of times it's like nasty, serious details. And a lot of details where you almost want to like look the other way and just go, I can't believe that something like that happened, and you feel ill. Like you go back to, in the last, 15 years, 2 really ugly things that happened, and there's a ton. When you talk about what transpired at Michigan State on multiple occasions, when you look back at Jerry Sandusky at Penn State, which still makes me sick to my stomach to this day, Urban Meyer handling or the mishandling of the Zach Smith situation. Like, we're talking about serious issues where I know our listening audience are serious sports fans, but there's sports and then there's real life. And in real life, what transpired at Penn State, what transpired at Michigan State, what transpired at Ohio State are serious things where we're talking about the health and safety of women and children. So when you get a story like this, where like when you're talking about Michigan State, you're talking about Penn State or Ohio State, there's no winners in that story. There's no fun to be had in that story, in any of those stories. But this one, it could be a fun story, right? The integrity of the game is called into question. And then you get this guy, Connor Stallions, and you're like, this is a very intriguing person when you have like some dope like me on a radio show today dressed up as him for Halloween. But a Marine that had this plan and you're sign stealing, then how effective is it? You get a lot of coaches like Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, Matt Rule as well, saying sign stealing has been going on for years. But this is different because of a camera being used, going to games. And if this is him on the Central Michigan sideline, dressed in Central Michigan gear, and I guess scouting Michigan State, that takes it to a whole different level. So I don't know all the facts here. I don't know what's true and false. You see a lot of fake things on the internet anyway these days. But there's more and more that will come out of this because I do think this is a fun story to dig on. And this is a fun story to explore because at the end of the day, we're just talking about football, not serious life issues when you're talking about the health and safety of children and the health and safety of women, like unfortunately what we've had to talk about in the past with college football. So this is a big story. We know that. Ultimately, as you see, I'm dressed up as Connor Stallions today. I do kind of roll my eyes and laugh at a lot of this stuff because, you know, Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, he went to the Wisconsin game this weekend with Wisconsin going up against Ohio State. And he was sitting there in the stands and he was recording the signs and making a mockery of it, of the opposing sidelines. And I still don't think this is a major advantage. Now, you can say objectively, then why do it if it's not a major advantage? That's fair. Maybe it's a slight advantage, but I don't think this is a major advantage. And especially now when you have 100,000 people in the stadium and everyone has a cell phone, you know, I get it. I could go to a game and I could record and it's no big deal. But when a coach goes to an opposing team and buys tickets and then uses technology, that becomes a big deal. I also find it funny. And, you know, I thought Matt Rule made a good point that there's rules that are in place. And then when people break rules, we go, oh, so what? It's really not a big deal. This rule's in place why you can't go and scout another team and record their signs because a lot of other programs weren't able to afford for those scouts. But now with how rich college football is, that rule's still in place. It doesn't make sense. And I said this from the start. If more comes out and Michigan did something wrong, which it looks like they did something wrong, they deserve some punitive action. My reaction just isn't, let's throw the book at them. And I don't think this is something where you need to basically like tear down the program and not make them bowl eligible for 4 years. I just don't agree with that. But there needs to be some punitive action when we get all the facts from this situation. But with that being said, I did find the irony of why that rule's in place. And then remember, I come from a smaller school in the college athletics landscape, and it's like, well, Temple doesn't have all these advantages that like a Michigan has or Ohio State has and some of these other school has to operate their football program. But I don't think it means that like you shouldn't be able to go scout your opponent. And there's a difference in terms of the players that Temple could attract, especially in the era of NIL, and not one former Temple football player has donated to their collective compared to what the resources like Ohio State and a Michigan has. So I don't want to say this is a whole lot of nothing because there is something there, but I don't think this is to the level of, oh, we need to vacate all the wins, which is such a stupid thing to do. And while we're at it, give Reggie Bush back his Heisman Trophy, please. But that's another topic for another day. And you could suspend Harbaugh next season for a few games. I get that. But outside of that, if we're talking about a reduction of scholarships, okay. But when you get into bowl bans or you get into not being able to participate in the postseason, I just think a lot of that stuff is stupid and is an overreaction because, once again, even though this is getting treated as if it's like the biggest deal in the world, I think a lot of these infractions are misdemeanors. And there's a lot of times that people commit crimes and people do things wrong, and there are different punishments depending on the crime. Once again, even though there's several layers of this, with what we know right now, I don't think this is throw the book at Michigan. But with how outraged people are, and there's a big public reaction, because remember, it's a Big Ten school, big brand in Michigan. You have Penn State fans that hate Michigan fans' guts. You have Ohio State fans that hate Michigan fans' guts. There's going to be more and more that comes out of this because, like, for example, if I was on the Penn State beat, I'd be digging because it's only going to increase your brand. If I'm on the Ohio State beat, I'd be digging because it only increase your brand because that's what your fans want to see. They want to see more of Michigan crumble here. But ultimately, everyone's watching. Everyone now knows and is monitoring Michigan, and the signs change all the time. And once again, I'm not saying Michigan did no wrong here. They did something wrong. But coming up on November 11th, Michigan goes to Happy Valley. It's better for college football if this stuff came out, especially with the way that Penn State's offense looks. Now, defensively, they're really great, but offensively, I think you could give you could tell Penn State what defense you're going to run and all the plays that you're going to run. It won't matter. Penn State, they couldn't coach their way out of a paper bag right now on the offensive side of the ball. And then ultimately, as long as Ohio State's still undefeated, which they will be, this just provides more and more ammunition and more hype for the game. And that is Thanksgiving weekend, Ohio State and Michigan. But this is wild. If that's true, that my guy Connor Stallings, who I'm dressed up as, if he was on the Central Michigan sideline, if that's right, for a game up against Michigan State, how'd you get there? Well, why are you there? I don't know if he had some involvement in the past with Central Michigan, and that's something, because there's still a lot of unknown about what we know with Connor Stallings. But it's clear when Central Michigan is looking into whether this is Connor Stallings or not, if he was associated with any capacity Central Michigan, or if you knew it wasn't him, you wouldn't just be looking into it. So Central Michigan has their antenna up on this one. Santa, it feels like each and every day there's a more fascinating story or a fascinating element to this story that ends up coming on out. But this is bonkers. Because to be fair, last night when I saw this, I'm like, is that really him? It's just a guy in a goatee and a guy wearing a baseball cap. And now Central Michigan is further looking into the matter.
I honestly think that the details of the story and the, sordid nature of the story is more compelling than the actual cheating and the advantages gained itself. Like, going to the games and getting the signs, that's one thing. The details, going and getting sideline tickets, pretending to be Central Michigan. The fact that
he's well calculated.
Yeah, the fact that TCU knew about it and then they had two fake, they had two different calls, one that was fake, one that was real, and that way they can throw Michigan off, and maybe that's why Michigan lost to TCU, because they were running the wrong defenses on the wrong place. Every day there's something new. Jim Harbaugh having the extension potentially rescinded. Harbaugh being,
and then there's a report today that maybe that report was untrue. Like, if I'm Michigan, I'm standing by my guy here. I'm saying, bleep the NCAA. We want Harbaugh to stay. This is a witch hunt. Like, I would be playing all those cards. I know Michigan can't really say much right now, and it probably doesn't behoove them to say much. But I remember when Deflategate happened, Robert Kraft landed at the Super Bowl, and he goes, I want the NFL, when they're proven to be wrong, to apologize to Tom Brady, to Bill Belichick, and to my organization, and we're putting this behind us. Like, he showed leadership there. Now, usually with these football programs, the head coach is the CEO. He talked about it yesterday, and he said what he had to say, and he said he couldn't really comment more on that. But, like, the president or the athletic director, like, you could make a big sign right here and stand with Harbaugh and give him that new extension. And if I'm Harbaugh, like, you get that extension or you get offered that, then you got to show your loyalty to Michigan, not even contemplate the NFL moving forward. So this is a fun story, is what I'm getting at. Like, ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think there's any, like, losers or, like, serious life issues that did go on here. But this guy, Connor Stallings, there's got to be, like, a feature done. Like, I got to know more about him Because was he operating a little rogue at first, and then Harbaugh got in on it? Like, Harbaugh had to know about this. But more and more as this goes on, I just wonder, when do people get fatigue from this? Like, if Michigan goes up against Penn State and Michigan beats the snot out of them by 30 points, are people really going to care about this story? Sure, it'll pop back up. Ohio State will pop back up when Michigan's in the Big Ten championship game and in the semifinals. But it's like one of those stories, when does the national viewer, the national public, when do we start to get fatigue with this? And I don't think the fatigue is there yet, just because of this new development here where it was Connor Stallings on the sideline up against Central Michigan. So it is fascinating. It definitely is fascinating with everything that's going on right now. Now, for Penn State and Ohio State, like Ohio State, we know that that's such a big game for them. But for Penn State, it's like, we know that you're just stuck on being a good team, not a great team. Imagine how much trash talking Penn State's going to do if they beat Michigan. And then you kind of try to take away from the success the last 2 years for Michigan, or the other way, Ohio State. Like, Ohio State wins this time, oh boy, that's not going to be a good look for Michigan. So in a weird way, Sam, so let me ask you this. Does this put more pressure on Michigan? Like, you go into this season, we all know you're one of the best teams in the country. You're expected to win the Big Ten. You're expected to go to the college football playoff and bare minimum get to a national championship. But now everyone's calling your success into question the last 2 years with these allegations. The Penn State and Ohio State games are already big. There are only 2 games on the schedule, but now they're even bigger. And I do wonder how Michigan handles that. When we had Roman Wilson on last week, when all this stuff was breaking, it didn't seem like they were fazed by it, but it's one thing to say one thing in an interview, and then when it just goes on and on and on and on, you have to keep on answering questions about it. I do wonder if the pressure gets to Michigan at all this season.
I mean, I'm less concerned about whether the pressure gets to them as much as how do they perform now that they can't steal signs. That's going to be interesting. But I think the combination of the two, it can't help. It's not going to make it any easier for them to win the Big Ten or the national championship. So I think if they lose and they don't win it all, then we're always going to question how good Jim Harbaugh really is. And if they do win it, then maybe there's something else going on. But I mean, it raises questions, and I think the pressure, sure, could be a part of it. But I'm less concerned about that as I am about the rest of the stuff.
And look at what has happened in recent history. People called the Patriots cheaters. Patriots kept on winning. A lot of that stuff did go away. The Astros called cheaters. Then the Astros just won another World Series. Now it's like, all right, the whole scandal, all right, whatever. It happened, and they were still able to win after that. Michigan, they've won Big Ten championships. They beat Ohio State twice the last 2 years. But in the college football playoff, they got smacked by Georgia, and then they lost to a TCU team that on paper they were better than. And you bring up how Sonny Dykes and TCU knew. The other thing, too, it just reminded me something. The great late Mike Leach. Have you ever seen that classic story when he was at Oklahoma, a part of the Red River Showdown, and they were wondering how honest the other team was going to be? So when he was the OC there before the game, he put a fake play sheet. So whatever they would run, let's say to the right, he set it up to the left and vice versa. So it was a decoy. And he gave it to a tight end. And on the warm-ups before the game, he told the tight end, pretend you're putting it in your pocket or in your belt buckle and have it fall on the ground. And one of the staffers on the other team saw it, and they handed it right over to the coaching staff. And on one of the plays early, they were all in position thinking the play was going to the left or whatever it was, and the play goes to the right, and it ends up being a touchdown when Mike Leach was the offensive coordinator. So that stuff does go on, and there's ways to prevent it. But ultimately, going back to your question about the whole sign stealing and, how effective is it for Michigan, like, it has to help in some capacity. I'm not ruling that out. But these signs change all the time, too. Like, signs change each and every week. So I don't even know the signs that they were stealing, if they were even used for their advantage. And there's been some videos that suggest that they were, and I'm sure there's some videos to suggest that they weren't. Ultimately, go win. They should beat Penn State. They're a better team than Penn State. And Michigan should beat Ohio State because I think they're a better team than Ohio State as well, especially with Kyle McCord at quarterback for Ohio State. I can't trust him. Now, Maserati Marv. Ooh, I do like him. He's good. But how many times we have to hear Gus Johnson call him Maserati Marv 2 weeks ago up against Penn State? And I'll give Ohio State credit. Their defense is much better than the defense that it was the last 2 years. That's the one thing that has impressed me. We all knew Maserati Marv was the best non-quarterback in the sport. But defensively, those were major questions and now, right, you have the defense on the same page and the defense is firing, but then the offense is struggling. Kind of reminds you like the Steelers the last 10 years. Like whenever the Steelers' offense was good, the defense stunk, and now the defense is good and the offense stinks. So that's what it kind of feels like is going on with Ohio State. Whenever the offense is firing, defense is a problem. Now the defense is firing, the offense is a problem. So we'll take a break here on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We'll come on back. We'll do a little overreaction, proper reaction. We still got to get to our top 5 candy items with it being Halloween. James Harden got dealt as well, and we'll react to the future of Kyler Murray out in the desert with the Arizona Cardinals. But we'll come on back with a little overreaction, proper reaction.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio.
There was talks of Brock Purdy earlier in the year winning the league MVP. That was one of the more ridiculous things that I've ever heard. And quite frankly, it was disrespectful to Christian McCaffrey, because if anyone's going to win the MVP from the San Francisco 49ers, it's going to be Run CMC, but it's not brain surgery here. He has not been able to elevate this team with fewer players around him. And you don't need a PhD in football to figure this one out. With how young Brock Purdy is in his career, he needs the players around him.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Let's get to a little overreaction, proper reaction right now.
Another NFL week is complete, which means it's another week to freak out about your favorite team. Which takes are truly crazy.
But sometimes a game can be so bad, it's almost good. You know what I'm saying? No.
And which are so crazy, they might be right.
He's 6'5", he's 245 pounds. He's probably a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end.
Zach lets you know in this week's edition of Overreaction or Proper Reaction.
All right, Santa, what do you got for me?
Okay, so here we go. No,
you can't do this segment in the Mickey Mouse voice the entire time. my ears would be checked out.
I mean, I can, I won't, but I could.
It wouldn't be good.
No, it would not be good. As we discussed briefly yesterday, Tyreek Hill became
I do appreciate, though, the commitment to the bit.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's not a bit. Mickey Mouse was actually sitting in his chair. He just walked out of the room.
Gotcha.
Tyreek Hill became the first player with over 1,000 yards receiving through his first 8 games and is currently on pace for over 2,100 yards. And as we know, Tyreek Hill guaranteed that he would get over 2,000. So overreaction, proper reaction. Tyreek Hill will go down as a top 5 receiver all time.
Oh, man. I got to go overreaction, but it's close. It's close. Just for starters, right off the tip of the tongue, Jerry Rice, clearly. Terrell Owens, clearly. Randy Moss, clearly. I'm not ready to go top 5 receiver of all time. Like right now, there's questions if he's the best receiver in the NFL going into the season. Through the first 8 weeks, yeah. He has displayed that he is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Devontae Adams and Jimmy Garoppolo have no connection. That was one that was up there for consideration. Justin Jefferson has been hurt. Let's pump the brakes, though, on top 5 receiver of all time. Now, he wins a Super Bowl with Miami. That's a different conversation. It turns into something else because then he's done it in 2 places and did it without Patrick Mahomes. He's phenomenal. He's one of the more lethal players in the NFL, but I'm not ready to go top 5 all time just yet.
All right, now my former favorite team, the Jets, improved to 4-3 despite one of the ugliest games you'll ever see that saw a combined 24 punts. Zach Wilson was obviously awful all game long until the final drive in OT, where he actually stepped up and made a couple clutch plays. So overreaction, proper reaction, the Jets are a playoff threat.
What do you mean by a playoff threat?
A threat to not only make the playoffs, but be a tough out.
I think that's an overreaction. The Jets can make playoffs. The Jets have a really good defense. But when you're walking into a playoff game potentially with Zach Wilson, I don't think that's going to concern anybody. But I will make one caveat here. If Aaron Rodgers is back, yeah, then they are a playoff threat. And Joe Douglas just had his press conference. We'll talk more about this tomorrow, his post-trade deadline press conference. And according to Ian Rappaport, Joe Douglas stating something we now have assumed to be coming, but wouldn't have assumed a while 2 months ago. Joe Douglas said, quote, "We're expecting Aaron to be back," close quotes. I'll be back. So let's see if Rodgers actually gets on the field. But it was impressive last week how he's dropping back that quickly removed from the Achilles injury.
Did he mean this year or just as a Jet at some point?
I'm assuming that means we're expecting Aaron to be back for this season. That's the way that I would take it. He's under contract. He's going to be back next year. And I've already said I think he wins Comeback Player of the Year next year in the NFL. But anyway, let's get to the next question.
In his NFL debut, rookie quarterback Will Levis lit it up, throwing for 4 touchdown passes, 3 of which were over 30 yards, and 3 of which went to DeAndre Hopkins. Outside of those 3 long scoring strikes, however, Levis had only 97 yards passing on 26 attempts the rest of the way. So overreaction, proper reaction, Will Levis will be a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback in the NFL.
That's an overreaction. Now, with that being said, I was really impressed with what I did get to see from Will Levis this past weekend. Had the 3 passing touchdowns to DeAndre Hopkins, also hit Nick Westbrook-Akina as well for a long score. So he played really, really well. I just don't know what Tennessee's going to be moving into the future. Now, is Derrick Henry back next year? Does DeAndre Hopkins get dealt? I know that was a 2-year deal. That team is just not all there, and there's still questions if Will Levis is going to play this weekend. They may be going back to Ryan Tannehill. That would be a dumb decision by Mike Vrabel. You got to give Will Levis the rest of the season. I'm just not ready to say Pro Bowl quarterback. He looked like a Pro Bowl quarterback after one game, but I'm not ready to go there over a full season.
Now, the Cowboys blowout win over the Rams.
Well, actually, real quickly.
Oh.
Doesn't take much to make the Pro Bowl now.
Yeah. I mean, like 9
Tyler
quarterbacks
Huntley
make it every year.
Tyler Huntley made it last year. Mac Jones has made a Pro Bowl because about 8 or 9 say no. So you know what? Rewind. Proper reaction. Because about 17 quarterbacks will say no and Will Levis will get in. Hey, Derek Carr, you want to go to the Pro Bowl? I got asked. Really? Oh, yeah, I don't feel like doing it. Oh, Lamar Jackson, you're a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. Do you want to go? No, I don't feel like it. All right, Deshaun Watson, you play like crap now. You want to go to Pro Bowl? Yeah, sure. Why? Like, Ryan Tannehill. Like, what are we doing, some of these quarterbacks?
Maybe Jimmy G can actually make it, and Zach Wilson will be his backup.
Imagine if Zach Wilson made a Pro Bowl.
Let's not even talk about that.
How many quarterbacks have to say no for Zach Wilson to make the Pro Bowl?
There's 32 teams, so 39. Backup quarterbacks as well. In the Cowboys blowout win over the Rams, Dak threw for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. And CeeDee Lamb finally got in the action with 158 yards and 2 scores. So after what we just saw this weekend, overreaction, proper reaction, the Cowboys are Super Bowl contenders in the NFC.
That's an overreaction. Man, I'm really negative today.
Interesting.
That's an overreaction just because one game against a Rams team is supposed to change my opinion, where I've been set in one direction by saying this is a good team, not a great team. And this is a team, when they go up against better competition, they fail. Like, look at the 49ers. The 49ers, they destroyed them 42-10. I don't think the Cowboys are that bad as the way that they played that day. But to go win or to go get to a Super Bowl, because they're not going to be the 1 seed, they're going to have to win 3 playoff games in a row. I don't trust Dak Prescott to win 3 playoff games in a row. Defense, phenomenal. CeeDee Lamb was great, and he is a great wide receiver. But Dak is too up and down for me when it matters the most for me to think he's winning 3 playoff games this year.
All right, the Green Bay Packers lost their 4th straight, and Jordan Love has struggled during the stretch with just 4 touchdowns and 7 picks and being sacked 11 times in those 4 games. So overreaction, proper reaction, Jordan Love is not a franchise quarterback.
It's early, but right now I'll say proper reaction. Now, at the end of the year, I got to have at least 5 moments that say to me he's a franchise quarterback. Maybe he's provided 1 this year, and that was at the home opener, being down 17-0 in the 4th quarter and leading a comeback. He had a rushing touchdown and a passing touchdown, right end zone to Romeo Doubs, who made a great catch. But Matt LaFleur also looks like he's a fraudulent coach as well as a head coach in this league. So that combination, yeah, I don't think it's go, Pack, go. I think it's more like, oh, no, these days. So I will say proper reaction when you say Jordan Love isn't a franchise quarterback.
Now, the Jags won again, but it wasn't pretty as they took out the Steelers and Mitch Trubisky 20-10.
Well, I like to call Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, I know all about that guy. in Pittsburgh. Jacksonville is now 6-2 and tied with the Chiefs, Dolphins, and Ravens for the best record in the AFC, though they sit third right now based on tiebreakers.
Yeah.
So overreaction, proper reaction. The Jags are a top 4 team in the AFC.
Yeah, that's a proper reaction. And the way the Jaguars schedule is, it wouldn't shock me if they're the 1 seed or the 2 seed. Not crazy to say.
So hold on, top 4 teams. We're talking about Chiefs, Dolphins, Ravens, Bengals, Jaguars, Bills. You think that the Jags are in that mix in top 4?
Yeah, I said that before the season started.
But the season is being played out. The Jags better than the Bengals right now? Better record, yes. But
Today?
Today.
Yes, they are. Now, in terms of a quest to the Super Bowl, no.
Just head-to-head right now. They played right now. Bengals and Jaguars.
Yeah, I'd take the Bengals right now.
Okay. Ravens.
Fine. Yeah, I slightly go Ravens.
Chiefs.
They played earlier, yeah, sure.
Okay. And then you got the Dolphins.
I think that's a good game. I think it's a close game.
Okay.
I think it's what I'm saying is
they could be top 4, but I'm wondering if you think they are top 4.
At the end of the year, do I think the Jaguars are a top 4 team in the AFC? Yes. Like right now, the Jaguars are 6-2. They're 6-2. Here's their schedule the rest of the way. Bye week, they play San Francisco, tough game. They play Tennessee, they play Houston. Those are 2 wins easily. They play Cincinnati, tough game. They play Cleveland, that's a win. They play Baltimore, tough game. They finished the year Tampa Bay, Carolina, Tennessee. So they should beat Tampa Bay, they should beat Carolina, they should beat Tennessee. Now, you're not going to win necessarily all the games that are gimmies, but if they do, which would be Tennessee, Houston, and Cleveland, and Tampa, and Carolina, Tennessee, that puts them at 12 wins already. 12 wins right there before you even get to some of these tough games. Either you drop a game or 2, that gets them to 10, and maybe they win a game or 2 of those tougher games that we talk about. Like, there's not a game on their schedule. Here's what I'll say to the Jaguars. There's not a game on their schedule they can't win. They're not going to win them all, but there's not a game on their schedule that you look and you say, oh, you can't win. So, yeah, I think they're a top 4 team in the AFC.
All right, now a team that we thought may have been a top 4 team at some point, they certainly don't look like it. The Chargers, they snapped a 2-game losing streak, smashing the Bears 30-13. Now 3-4 in the season. Brandon Staley is 22-19 as a head coach and has finished over 500 in each of his first 2 years and hopefully maybe finishing above 500 again this year. He's been on the hot seat, but overreaction, proper reaction, Brandon Staley can still save his job in L.A.
That's an overreaction. The only way that guy is back next year is because the Spanos family is just the definition of cheap. They have too much talent where we have to talk about him just being on the hot seat means that they're not playing to the level that they are, and they need to play a whole lot better. And that defense continues to move in the wrong direction, and he's a defensive-minded coach. And you start to hear players turning on the coach. They got to go get a big-time football coach this offseason because they have too many talents to be one of those teams that are teetering on, all right, they're probably going to miss the playoffs, but maybe they end up making the playoffs. All right, that's a special edition of Overreaction, Proper Reaction. Hey, real quickly, let me ask you an Overreaction, Proper Reaction question, Samter. I'm kind of liking wearing sunglasses here in the studio. Now, I know there are some radio shows around the country where the hosts wear sunglasses. Sometimes that may come off as a little douchey, if I may say so myself. But Overreaction, Proper Reaction, do I fit sunglasses into my wardrobe once a week right here on CBS Sports Radio?
Yeah, overreaction, no way.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Stu?
I mean, no. If you're like walking around outside, sure, you look great.
I'm saying on the air.
No.
In the studio.
Absolutely not. Indoor sunglasses are an absolute no in my book.
Let's go to a man with style, Stu.
Yeah, I'm not feeling. I like it as a costume, but I don't think it's an everyday or once a week, once a month type of thing.
Yeah, the reason I like it is because you have no clue where my eyes are wandering. So you have no clue where I'm looking right now. Like I could be appearing to be paying attention to Samter because my head is facing his direction, but my eyes could be in a totally different direction. Ack, I know Ack is like really the godfather here at CBS Sports Radio. His word goes, and I think he's really more traditional. So I'm going to assume that Ack says no to the sunglasses, but what would be your ruling?
You'd be wrong.
You think I could wear sunglasses?
Yes.
In studio?
Yes.
Why?
Why not? Give you a little cachet.
Look at that.
And as you said, nobody knows where your eyes are going.
That's true. I think it makes like people wondering what's really going on with Zach Gelb.
Exactly.
All righty.
Provides a little air of mystery.
I'm going to look at Stu, but I'm really looking at Ack right now in that blue sweater that he has on.
How are you looking at Ack? You're looking at the exact opposite direction. I understand you're wearing sunglasses and we can't see, but you don't have eyes in the back of your head, do you?
You never know. My eyes are wandering. I really have to stretch them out to the left, but they're getting there to see Ack's blue sweater vest right now. And what are those, khaki pants? Khaki pants?
That's no vest. That's just a straight sweater.
All right, sweater.
Maybe you
sweater
shouldn't be
vest,
wearing sunglasses.
Tomato.
Listen, if you really are Connor Stallion stealing signs, you're obviously not doing a very good job. No wonder Michigan hasn't won a national championship.
Well, sometimes you get the signs wrong. See, it's really not that effective. Just letting you know. All right.
Sunglasses and binoculars are an odd combination.
You know what's funny? I took the binoculars out first, and I go, I can't see anything. It's really dark in here. Maybe I take out the sunglasses. There were caps on the binocular lenses.
No. No.
And I go, I got to take the cap off the lenses. So there you go. See? Sometimes we're really stupid here at CBS Sports Radio. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We will talk a little Kyler Murray. We'll get to the top 5 candy items as well. And also, James Harden finally has a new destination while he'll continue to fail when it matters the most and go to a bunch of strip clubs. We'll get to that when we return. Here's the latest CBS Sports Radio update with the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flag.
Well, the NFL trade deadline passed earlier today, and the Washington Commanders thinking long-term, dealing from their strength, sending defensive lineman Montez Sweat to the Bears for a second-round pick. It is the second straight year the Bears acquire someone for a second-round pick. Last year's deal for Chase Claypool didn't work out so well, and the Commanders didn't stop there. They then sent Chase Young to the 49ers for a conditional third-round pick. To fill the void left by Kirk Cousins' torn Achilles, the Vikings traded for Cardinals quarterback Josh Dobbs and a 7th-round pick for a 6th-rounder. They also dealt offensive lineman Ezra Cleveland to the Jaguars. The Packers have traded Rasul Douglas to the Bills. The Lions acquire Donovan Peoples-Jones from the Browns for a late-round pick. The Rangers and Diamondbacks square off tonight in Game 4 of the World Series. The Diamondbacks dropped the opener before crushing Texas in Game 2 and will try to rally on their home field once again. But Texas has won 9 straight in the postseason, tying a record. It'll be Andrew Heaney and Joe Mantiply on the mound, and Adolis Garcia not in the starting lineup after leaving last night with tightness in his side. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Jim Rome here. Coming up Wednesday in the Jungle, a conversation with the newest member of the Ravens Ring of Honor, T-Sizzle, Terrell Suggs. See you Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern and 9 Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, and we continue. This is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I'm trying to spy right now on Stu's sheet to try to see what kind of candies he likes as we're going to do our top 5 Halloween candies right now. I'm dressed up as Connor Stallions, the great scout of the Michigan program. He's a Marine. Thank him for his service, by the way. But I'll start with Coach Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel, a.k.a. Stuart Kovacs, what do you got as your top 5 Halloween candy items?
All right, so we have, we want to go 5 to 1 or 1 to 5?
Go 5 to 1.
All
do
right.
a little build up. 5 being the worst, 1 being the best. In your
So
top
number
5.
5, I'll go Skittles.
Okay.
I like Skittles. Nice sweet taste. Number 4, Kit Kat.
Give me a break. Give me a break. Give me a break of that Kit Kat bar. All righty.
Number 3, Sour Patch Kids.
Okay, so you like the
Like
gummies?
the sour, too. Yeah, like the gummies.
I
Yes.
kind of laughed when Dan Lanning earlier was like, yeah, I like the gummies. And I'm like, oh, Coach, you may not want to say that in the year of 2023.
Coach McDaniel definitely likes the gummies.
Oh, it's accepted, too. You remember Mike McDaniel was on the sideline with that vape pen last year during the playoffs. He definitely is a gummy guy, McDaniel.
2, I'll go Reese's.
Yep, and
Peanut
1?
Butter Cups. And number 1 is Twix.
That's a solid list. I actually had a Twix bar during the break. There was some Halloween candy left over from the Halloween soiree that they had here today. And there's some alcohol and so they're having a real party out there. And I saw a Twix bar. I could go for a Twix bar. Santa, I know you have a sweet tooth. What do you got, Mickey Mouse?
So I got
Where's the voice?
Well, I mean, Mickey Mouse doesn't eat sweets. Okay, here we go. No, I can't do it anymore.
Go to the dentist, kids.
Yeah, seriously. So I got a solid top 4, and Stu's got 3 of my top 4 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But number 5, I couldn't figure it out. I was going between like a Tootsie Roll, Crackle, which is great. It comes with like the Crackle, Mr. Goodbar.
Dalvin Cook likes a good Tootsie Roll. He told us earlier.
Yeah, and Crackle you don't see anywhere else except those like Halloween mixed combo bags. So it's like it's only one time a year that you really get the Crackle. Crunch Bar is always a good one, but I'm gonna go with like one that people don't seem to like, but I absolutely love. Almond Joy is my number 5. A little bit of coconut, a little bit of almond, a little bit of chocolate.
Wow.
You can't go wrong. So that's my number 5. Starburst, number 4. Right? It's great when you get the whole roll of the Starburst, but you get like 4 or 5 little loose Starbursts with the wrapper still on it. There's nothing better. You can just kind of pop those in while you're walking around.
Mm-hmm.
And then my top 3 is just the top 3 go-to. Stu mentioned them. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Got to be the dark chocolate kind, though. That's the best.
You're not already at 5?
I've already done 5, 4. I'm on 3 now.
Oh, wow. I thought you listed like 2 or 3 candies right off the gate. I'm so confused on your list. 5 was what?
5 was Almond Joy.
Okay. 4 was then Starburst.
Starburst.
Okay. 3?
3, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, the dark chocolate kind.
Ooh.
2, Kit Kat. Number 1, Twix.
All righty. Number 5. This one was not named. Cookie and cream Hershey bar. I like a cookie and cream Hershey bar. Absolutely delicious. Number 4, M&M's. Classic. How can you not go M&M's? Now, you may say, what type of M&M's? Doesn't matter. Regular M&M's, milk chocolate, peanut butter M&M's, whatever M&M you want, I'm all in. Number 3, Twix. Love me a good Twix bar. 2, Kit Kat. And then number 1, the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. So I am all chocolate items here when we get into my top 5 candies.
Now, are you a pro or con candy corn person?
I wouldn't say that I'm a pro candy corn person.
Neutral candy corn.
No, I'd be more against it than pro. I don't look for candy corn. I've had it before. I'm like, I don't really get what the hype is. I understand more people that think it stinks and it's rubbish rather than it actually being good. Are you a pro candy corn person?
I am. I like it. I enjoy it for the, 2 or 3 weeks out of the year, and then it goes away.
Well, Mike McDaniel is a weird guy, so it does kind of fit your personality. I'm going to guess Samter. I don't know. I feel like you're a contrarian. You like candy corn?
No, thank you. Like, every now and again, I'll have a candy corn just because, like, all right, whatever. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'm not, like, as anti-candy corn as others seem to be out there, but, yeah, they're gross. It's just eating, weird flavored wax.
What did you... A weird flavor what?
Wax.
Wax.
It's like waxy. It tastes like you're eating wax.
My mind went in a different direction there. my mind went right into the gutter.
I said wax. W-A-X. How could your mind go into the gutter, you dirty, disgusting human being?
There were 2 things today that you said that, and I was like, what did you just say? But anyway, John U. Bacon, who we had on last week, he has a report regarding Michigan and their coach, Jim Harbaugh. This is breaking news. University of Michigan president and AD and the regents, the Board of Regents, are currently working to finalize Harbaugh's contract, which will make him the highest paid coach in the Big Ten. And John's been saying that he's been talking about this report since October 9th, but it looks like they are trying to finalize a deal here. So take it for what it's worth. John U. Bacon had exclusive access to the Michigan program, the Michigan football program, and here we are. So right now it says, and this is from today, a few minutes ago, that they are currently working to finalize Harbaugh's contract deal here.
Here's my question. Mm-hmm. Do you or do you not believe that Michigan should wait to see how the team performs without stealing signs before giving Harbaugh a massive contract extension?
Because the guy's a good coach. The guy got Michigan back to a serviceable spot, and he just wasn't able to beat Ohio State. So I would still want him, and I still don't think that it has as great of an impact as you do with the sign-stealing scandal. Alrighty, just real quickly, and I would show loyalty to my coach to prevent him from leaving to the NFL, because then you got to go find a new coach, and it's like, all right, who's going to be better than what Harbaugh is? That's going to be realistic out there. James Harden gets traded overnight to the Los Angeles Clippers. We were talking about this yesterday. I'm surprised the Sixers got back as much as they did in terms of the picks for James Harden, because there's really only the Clippers that are negotiating up against the Sixers to try to go get him. Ultimately, this is going to be disaster in Los Angeles. James Harden is going to be someone that will play well in the regular season, will give some other guys some nights off when they're trying to load manage with Paul George and also Kawhi Leonard as well coming off the injury. But James Harden's going to do what James Harden always does. The postseason, he'll have like 1 or 2 good games, then he'll be irrelevant, and he'll be more focused on the strip club scene rather than the basketball court. And finally, Kyler Murray, not going to play this week, is expected to come back, though, the week after that for the Cardinals' next game. It's going to be fascinating to see how we're talking about Kyler Murray at the end of the year. If he plays well, can move him out of that number 1 pick spot. But if he doesn't play well, he'll probably be somewhere else this time next year. It all depends where the Cardinals go in the draft when it comes down to what's going to be the future of Kyler Murray, because where that draft pick is will determine if they take a Drake May or a Caleb Williams or a Michael Penix Jr., whoever it is. Stu, great job. Samter, great job. Big thanks to each and every one of you. I'd like to thank Dan Lanning and Dalvin Cook for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.